Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hope you are well. Hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. Good to be back with you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. Sometimes you do. You're busy. I'm busy. We're all busy doing things. But we listen to things and watch things at our own convenience, and we help out with that by posting the show onto iTunes. You can rate and review there. Go listen to the show on iTunes when you get a chance, or go to our website and find it in the archived audio, ESPNTallahassee.com. Hello, YouTubers. Good to see you. Same to you, Periscopers. Email the show if you like, JCS at 979ESPNradio.com. By the way, if you're looking for the Jeff Cameron Show on YouTube, just type it in. You'll find it. Twitter is at J. Cameron Show. I think I said it, WTSM, and here we go. Florida State does make it to a regional. We thought they would, and what a good season. And because of that, they'll go in as a 3 seed in Athens. But I actually don't mind the regional. Certainly, Georgia's been one of the better teams in college baseball this year. A lot of parity in college baseball. There don't seem to be as many this year of really dominant teams that are going to be very hard to get past. I'm not saying Florida State's a great team either. They're not. But for some reason, I like this regional. I know Georgia's a 4 seed nationally, and the odds are stacked against us, I should say. But played well there against NC State. I don't think, like a lot of people have said, that was the game. Certainly didn't hurt them to win it. Would have been even scarier had they not. I think they were going to get in. I said that repeatedly in the build-up. I think being 4 games over 500 in the ACC, it wasn't like they were hovering around 500 on the for the overall record either. I mean, they had done enough in a year where there aren't that many great teams. I was joking around earlier this season. I said, find me 64 teams. Find me 40 good teams. There is a dearth of obviously dominant college baseball teams.
I think I'd incorrectly attribute a baseball program to probably 10 schools in my quest to find you 64 teams. Because college baseball, it's like if Major League Baseball is regional, what is college baseball? It's local.
It's very local, yeah.
Unless you're willing to listen to the radio stream or fire up that old ACCN Extra all season long. I mean, it's hard to go watch somebody else's baseball team.
Yeah, you're not sitting around, and that's where the new ACC network will help out, Tom. I know how excited you are. We'll be watching ACC baseball left and right next year, teams throughout this great conference of ours. The money comes flowing in to save the day. I haven't seen UCLA play. They're 47-8.
We'll know how much in like 2 years because the fiscal year data comes out so much later.
Yeah.
People are like, damn it, what's wrong with the system? Well, it's a trailing effect. It's going to be like this next year, people. So, just know that.
Let me ask you this. Actually, since we're having fun here and we're just looking at RPI, if you looked at, and I know, again, Georgia's a number 4 national seed. Of the teams in the top 8 of the RPI, depending on where you're looking, who have you seen? Have you seen UCLA play?
No.
Nope. Have you seen Vanderbilt play? Maybe.
I mean, maybe if I was like walking into the corner pocket and it was on some obscure TV on my way to the actual TV I wanted to go sit in front of. So like a pitch.
You haven't seen Stanford play. I've seen Mississippi State play. I've seen Georgia play.
You have? Good for you.
Well, I'm not here to tell you I'm an expert on either one of those teams. I've seen them play. I mean, when I'm flipping around, I like college baseball. That's the thing. I actually long for the days of Sunshine Network where you could sit down and watch a lot of baseball, and they had Miami games on and Florida games on and Florida State games on, and I just felt like college baseball was on 3 or 4 times a week. At least the teams in the state were. And because of that, you got to see the teams that came in to play those squads, and you saw plenty of SEC baseball. You saw plenty of ACC baseball, and I always enjoyed that. But anyhow, if it's on and I'm flipping around and I don't have a lot of alternatives, I mean, if the SEC network, here we are, here's where a network helps out, is playing college baseball that night on a random Tuesday during the course of the year, and it's Georgia versus Mississippi State, I'll watch it. I mean, I'm not telling you I'm going to lose sleep. I'm not staying up all night. I'm not doing something with my kids so I can watch 2 teams I don't care about. But if they're 2 intriguing or highly ranked teams, well thought of teams that we could potentially have to face Yeah, I'll tune in. I'll watch a significant portion of that.
This is where I think you and I are a little bit different in terms of the prioritization of what we're watching because we're busy. We both are. College basketball has now, I mean, given what we are as a program, we're watching a lot of college basketball, not just Florida State basketball, because we're comparing ourselves to the best
we
of
go
the
to the
ACC.
Elite Eight and the Sweet 16. On
the best in the country because you want to see what these teams are about, get a sense for what the draw is going to look like in the tournament. It matters to us. And then there's obviously, for me, I'll watch a lot of Lightning hockey, even in the regular season, which we'll see next year. That'll be the real test. Major League Baseball comes in and then some of the other Florida State sports. But, like, I have a hard time finding enough time for Florida State baseball, let alone somebody else's college team. So when we get to, like, conference tournament season, I do a crash course the best I can with how the mocks look. But even still this year, I didn't even find the time to watch Georgia play because I know we're kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team and mostly Hyde, a little bit of Jekyll, and that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, and that's just it. We're a hard team to wrap your arms around other than the Knoll in you, right? If you remove that, if you remove the garnet and gold-colored glasses and you just talk about this team from a standpoint of watchability or enjoyability, they haven't been. They haven't been a team that's fun to watch. They're awfully young in some key areas, and I think they've got kids that are going to develop into fine players, but they're wildly inconsistent, and I think that's been the hard part. It's been very frustrating. But at the same time, again, I thought going 17-13 in the ACC was going to get them in and that they would be all right. You go back and look at the numbers. No ACC team with at least 17 league wins has ever missed the NCAA tournament. And I kept talking about, look, guys, I know they're saying we're on the cusp. I don't think so. I think we had things going for us here. That was one of them, and then Martin was the other. Let's be honest. If it came down to a coin flip between us and some middling program with very little history that happened to have a pretty good year that might get them into the tournament, sorry, that team's going to miss out. I've seen it happen, and they just needed a reason, and we gave them a resounding one by beating the bejesus out of NC State. That was finally the rubber stamp moment where they could say, okay, now we don't even have to worry about it. Now people aren't going to second-guess us here. But I really still think they would have got in had they lost that game. I really believe that. Now, that said, I know what the RPI is, and I know how dangerously close we made it. And that speaks to, again, that inconsistency that this team played with all season long. It's a weird team. It's hard to get a handle on. They do some things well. They do some other things really poorly. And they haven't always been a lot of fun to watch stylistically. We are a feast or famine team. And I think you've called them that many times before, and I think you're right. They as evidenced by the ACC tournament, there it is.
Yeah, I think,
in a nutshell.
Honestly, to use Eric Llewellyn's scouting report on what we do as a staff, Friday's game is important. The batting average on balls in play for Drew Parrish needs to be something reasonable, not something ridiculous, where one hard-hit ball an inning is going to cost you 3 or 4 runs. Because if you can get past your first game of this regional and give the ball to C.J. Van Eyck for the winner's bracket game against presumably Georgia, you're in business. You've got a real chance to win this thing.
Don't you count out Mercer? Don't you count out Mercer? Come on, Mercer.
Come on, Mercer. Yeah, Mercer would have given the football team this year a real headache.
Make it happen. And
they beat the pants off of Sanford.
Well, let's make this point. More than 40 years of history were on the line for Florida State to get in. We could not, given the year we've had as Noles, after watching the football team not make a bowl and go 5-7, have seen the baseball team then turn around and not go to a regional. I mean, there's only so much you could take.
The bizarro
and remain
90s.
Upbeat, right?
Yeah, this would have been the bizarro 90s.
Yeah, it's. I'm really, really relieved that they were able to do that. Now we wish them well. More on that in a bit because the softball comeback came up short, and I was pissed. That's how invested I've become in this thing. And I went away for the weekend, went to the beach with some friends and family. And this sport continues to surge in popularity. And you can credit ESPN for that. And this is where my hope, in all seriousness, lies with the ACC network. When ESPN gets involved in something, they promote it to the hilt. Annoyingly so if you don't like it. I mean, see the NBA at times. See the SEC network, see any number of other things that they've invested in. I talked about MMA and all of that other stuff that they are into now. You're gonna see a rise in popularity of anything that ESPN is invested in because they beat you over the head with it promotionally. But the sport of softball in this case, and unfortunately the women come up just short this year of going back to the College World Series, it's improved by leaps and bounds from, say, 10 years ago. Just the quality of play, the level of athlete, the enjoyable nature of the game. It's fun to watch now in a way that it never was, in my opinion. And so I started to tune in. Then we got really, really good, and I really decided to watch. And of course, last year we won the whole thing, and now you and I are converted. We're fans. We're watching. We're invested in that team. They're really likable. They're a lot of fun to watch. They clubbed the ball this year, so if you like the long ball, you got a lot of those. And it's a great staff, and we've talked to Coach Alameda, all that, and I wanted it for them. I wanted them to follow it up and make another run, and they've become so consistently good that I was literally stunned when they lost. And my point about being out of town for the week and all that, it was on every television, everywhere I went. Everywhere we were staying in a beach community. We went to a beach bar, went to a couple different restaurants. It was on everywhere, not just our game, obviously. Lots of the games back to back. It was fun
because it outrates college baseball, and they want to put it on the actual ESPN 4-letter. And I was at the ESPN zone in the Disney Lagoon there by the Epcot Resorts, which is a wholly average establishment.
Yes,
but
it is.
I was there, and that's where we decided to hole up for Game 3. And it was just, people around the bar, around the tables, people were locked in because that was a good game. That series was a really good series.
Great
in
series.
General.
Yeah, we lose the first game. You think, all right, well, what's going to happen? We come back, get that win the next night. And next day, I thought, okay, well, we're going to be all right. And then 3-2.
Well, the funny thing was, we get a little bit lucky in Game 2 to come away with a big inning. A couple of balls or strikes go our way. It was kind of the antithesis of Florida State, South Carolina, which was just ridiculous. But we got a couple of calls, and then we parlay that into a big inning because Show was killing us. Once she got through the second time through the order,
figured it out.
In Game 1, she retired. I think it was 24 straight. We couldn't even get the ball out of the infield. But then we chase her. She gets tired, and you know that we're going to win Game 2. Then it comes down to Game 3. And when we get it 2-1 and they make it 3-1 instantly, the next half inning, it's like anything else. If you can respond to momentum, that puts the onus back on us. And we had one key at bat that was an atom ball to third base. It was off Carson Gordon's bat.
Yep.
And that's what cost us.
And she's a senior, and I hated that for her. And same for, obviously, Megan King, who's also a senior. And
what a career she's had.
Wow. We should take the time to put a ribbon on this and note just how good they've been and why I was sad to see them fall just short. I wanted them the chance to go back and defend their title, but they set school records for home runs, 105, batting average 330, RBIs 423. They ranked second in school history in doubles, 103, runs 454. Fourth in hits, sixth in stolen bases. They won their sixth consecutive ACC championship this year, 17th in program history. They advanced to the NCAA Super Regionals for the seventh consecutive season. The senior class that I was just alluding to finished their careers with a 223 wins, 40 losses, and 1 tie record, which trails only Oklahoma, by the way, for the most victories of any school since 2016. And you know how good Oklahoma is. And so they are amongst the creme de la creme of softball, and they're going to be fun to watch every year. I think they've established a program not only of significance but of dominance. So there's no reason to believe they won't be great again, despite the losses of really key figures in this program's history. It's a shame it had to end this way so close. The teams had the same number of hits, the same number of runs. We commit 4 errors. That's brutal. And at the end of the day, you'd have to say that's what cost you the game in some way or another. You can't keep giving teams extra ABs.
No, and a couple of the mistakes are killer. At one position in particular, we had a rough couple of weekends, but then the double play, the throw over to first, it's like the MLB equivalent to if it's Billy Hamilton going down the line to first, you don't need to even put it in your pocket. Just put the ball.
Thank God
right.
He's out of my division.
He's not in your division anymore. But I wish we could have put that in our back pocket there. But there's just a couple of key moments. And when you're down 2 runs going into the 7th and we get the home run and you're hoping against hope that maybe we could put together some back-to-back-to-back like we did the weekend before.
Back-to-back-to-back-to-back.
But it's just Oklahoma State's pitching was so good. I don't think it was just that our bats went quiet. I think that they found something, and they really kept us off balance by changing their speeds. But hats off to this team because the title defense here was fantastic, and it was just a couple of plays short.
The finals are set. Tom, how much would I have to give you for you to take Toronto? What would the bet be? I like that team. I love Kawhi Leonard. I love that they've won 4 straight. I love all those things. That's true, but they are no match, I do not believe, for Golden State. That number is tough when you look at the odds. Later in the show, we'll look at those odds. There's also odds in college football that came out. Some numbers, some lines for some big matchups are starting to trickle out.
Yeah, I had a good finish to last year. You had a much more bullish year overall. 2 years ago was a fine year for the Lang household. This past one was slow, then quick. Good finish.
Yeah, you had a furious finish to get back.
To square
where you
one.
needed to
So
be, yeah.
we need 2019 to tighten up a little bit.
Well, start doing your homework, buddy. There are numbers out there. I'll give them to you in a moment. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men on a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Professional parts people can help you find just what you need to help keep your weekend safe and fun. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
And we're back with another edition of Spring Cleaning. Today, we want to know how you save energy, water, and money during a warmer season. Caller, you're on the air. What do you do to save energy?
With the warmer temperature, I know my AC is working overtime, so I make sure to replace my AC filter once a month.
Excellent suggestion. Next caller, you're on the air.
Well, the city of Tallahassee recommends that I take advantage of their grants and loans to get more insulation in my attic. That's really going to keep my cooling costs down.
These are some great suggestions. There are lots of ways to save. Caller, you're on the air.
I reduce energy for water heating by lowering my water heater temperature and installing low-flow shower heads.
We have time for one more caller. What do you have for us?
I make sure to use my programmable thermostat to regulate the temperature in my home when I'm away.
Thank you, caller. That's all the time we have today.
The City of Tallahassee Utilities would like to help you save as much energy as you can and save money while you're at it. Visit talgov.com for more information and start saving energy today.
This is Lisa Brady. 17 years ago, I opened Lisa's Paint and Body to provide Tallahassee with an honest repair shop. Thanks to you, our customers, we have outgrown our current location and soon we'll be moving. Our new location is twice the size, easier access, state-of-the-art equipment, and the newest technology.
ASE and ICAR certified technicians. Personalized attention, guaranteed results. 2820 Mahan Drive. Call 385-2665. Lisa's Paint and Body Shop, MV46050.
We're back with a state champion. That's right, a state champion head coach. His name is Titus Nixon. He is the basketball coach at St. John Paul II Catholic High School. Coach, how long have you been involved with athletics at JP2?
So I've been involved for 8 years as a coach. I was an assistant, and then 2 years as the girls basketball coach. And then I just completed my 5th year as the boys basketball coach. I also spent my junior and senior years as a student at JP2 in the early years of the school's beginning.
What does it say, though, about the culture of an institution that you graduate from there almost 15 years ago? But here you are still spending your time back at that school.
I think it says a lot. The fact that my wife didn't graduate from JP2, but we both felt drawn back to help in some way. And we weren't even living in Tallahassee, and we always had this thought of, man, it would be so neat if I could go back and help in some way. And when I was named the coach 5 years ago, it was very special, and people thought I was crazy when I said in 5 years we're going to win a state championship. Maybe even I thought I was a little crazy, and it was just so cool to see the program develop over these last 5 years. And we've seen that in many of the sports at JP2. We have so many committed coaches, so many committed teachers that really lay it all on the line day in and day out to try to provide a great atmosphere and a lifelong positive experience for these students in their high school years.
Coach, thanks for your time. For more information about athletics, academics, student life, visit sjpiichs.org for St. John Paul II Catholic High School.
The 2019 Atlanta Braves are ready to defend their title as the season gets rolling.
Delivers, and it's hit in the air to left field deep. Still going. He's at the warning track, and this one is gone.
Atlanta Braves baseball on 97.9 ESPN Radio is brought to you by Witten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass, and by Metro Deli in downtown Tallahassee.
It's Golic and Wingo.
The article is up on ESPN.com right now. Lakers 2.0, the failed reboot of the NBA's crown jewel. The real question is, at this point, if I'm LeBron James,
why am I sticking around?
I don't think anybody comes out of this with not something being unscathed. Yep. It's a bad look for everybody involved.
Magic Johnson's inconsistencies started to show up during that first take appearance.
We are watching a reality show divorce go on between a power couple.
She set up this power situation, and it's a friggin' mess. Because there's no hierarchy at all, and the two people she has running this operation in Pelinka and Magic were two first-timers at this. And now one is gone, and the other, who was a first-timer at this, has assumed even more power at his job as GM.
I don't think it's going to get better for the Lakers before it gets worse.
And I think we all will agree it continue to point at Jeannie Buss.
Golic and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Big store pricing with local service. Online at ctf.nu.
Looking out, baby, I'm coming on my knees, begging please, yeah.
Drew Parrish is going to pitch well, Tom Lang.
Does he need tough love to do so?
No, Drew knows. He knows it's time.
Okay.
Come on, buddy. Got to go out there and be good. Friday, noon, your time. We'll get that one easy. Just keep it on, cruising.
Sizzle, sizzle. I looked at the weather report for Athens early in the week just to see, and it looks like the precipitation chance is low. We're going to get scattered thunderstorms here in the Tallahassee area Friday and Saturday. It's almost as though the weather doesn't know we're in a different town.
The numbers I was alluding to, by the way, who do you think's the favorite to win the NFC East in the NFL? That's right, the Eagles. Cowboys are second. Skins third, Giants last. Just an aside. I'm giving you bonus numbers. But they're NFL and college. It's just so exciting. The numbers are out there. You got odds for MVP already out there. Just think, most of the time you figure you got it figured out. Most of the time you're like, oh, well, God, in the AFC it's going to be Tom Brady or whatever you think it is, and then it's not. Then it's somebody coming out of nowhere like it was last year.
We're basically in June right now, too.
That's correct.
Because it's Tuesday, the 28th, so that means this week's over. And when this week's over, then May is over. So we're into June.
You're doing the thing, Tom.
Yeah.
You're doing the thing.
Yeah.
I did it yesterday driving back from the Palm Coast. I had a lot of time to think. And I was going through in my mind scenarios in which, the next several weeks worth of shows and kind of what I wanted to tackle, what I didn't want to, what I wanted to do on air, what I needed to do off the air. And you're going through these things in your head, and it's too early for the system. I'm not doing the system yet, but I'm thinking about the coaching staff. I'm thinking a little bit about what Florida State needs to do. I'm thinking a little bit about the baseball team and all that other stuff. And then in my head, I was like, wow, it's June. And then I realized that I had engaged. I had started the thing. The thing always begins at the end of May and the beginning of June. It's that thing where you rush time, where you begin to say, well, June's not that far away. I mean, June is right there next to July. And if you're in July, it's time to talk football. Camps open up. Things begin, preseason stuff, kind of.
The lists?
The lists
You've got the lists.
All the things begin to happen. They just start they're domino effects. You just start, look at that. But one of the things that happens, too, is, again, odds for games. And I would say that what's fun to look at is just the point spreads of some of the bigger games that have come out now. They've slowly, and I'm going to do more on this maybe next hour. I have more to talk about with this, but I did see where we are 4.5-point favorites over Boise State. Most of you had seen we were already favorites there too. I asked you, last time we talked about this game where your head was at.
I picked us to win last time in W's and L's, which was that's a change. I had us as an L for a while.
You did have us losing earlier, didn't you? What was that about?
The offensive line. And that's even, I don't even care about Dickerson. It's just, okay, there's a lot of work that goes in the offseason, but, live bullets, live ammunition, that's a lot to overcome. The demons of last year.
I have a suspicion that they're going to be better coached this year, and I feel much better about that, but what you have to work with is extremely limited. And so when I talk about that group, I talk about a group that I think will be a lot better than they were a year ago, but they were so bad last season that even a lot better means that they're still just bad. They were, bottom of the barrel. Sorry. If we could get, I don't know, remember I have these scales and they're kind of strange. Sorry, almost beyond sorry. Can you get to just bad? Can you get to bad? Can you get to bad? I think they can get to bad.
And then we could come on the air for our pregame show, and you'll say, well, this is just a bad offensive line.
And people will go, all right, we're getting better. In the no, we ran out of adjectives. We ran out of ways to describe the ineptitude. When we did pregame shows and when we did this show last year, it got difficult because we found a way to scrape the bottom of the barrel and then dig out beyond that and bury ourselves under the barrel and then become this thing I had never seen before at a school this size.
Yeah, we weren't even Swiss cheese. We were just air with little crumbs.
It was nuts to watch. I mean, I couldn't believe what we were watching. And so when you describe that to people, it's funny how long it took everybody to kind of – you see now there have been a lot of national articles in the last week and a half on – as people do the thing that we're doing. They're just peeking. They're just peeking ahead a little bit. Just peeking. Just take a little peeky. But they do it, and they go, oh, turns out there were real reasons for Florida State's monstrous failures, in particular the offensive line. And then they would document it. And David Hale had done this a lot, but now you've seen Andy Staples do it, and Andrea's done it, and other people have written and talked about it a little bit more each day.
I'm sure a lot of our Knoll fans that listen to the show from afar get this. You have family members, spouse, friends, whatever it is. They went to different schools. They care about different schools. Mm-hmm. And so they say, so what's wrong with you guys? The offensive line is terrible. Everybody says that. There was always that skepticism from those who did not watch Florida State week in, week out. And then you sit down on the couch or at a bar with your friend and you're watching the game together. And they go, oh, well, this is bad.
It's a different kind of,
You don't believe me, do you? You have to see it for yourself to believe how bad we were at this particular thing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? And then you see it and you go, okay, well, they'll have to be better. And so somebody asked me the other day, now that we know that it looks like you got another, you got another transfer. I mean, for all intents and purposes.
Defection.
I would call it a defection. Now that's happened, and rumor is he's going to go to Ohio State. We'll see. We'll see. Landon Dickerson is who I'm talking about, obviously. But
to play? Is he just going to go because he likes their major?
He's leaving. At this point, you wouldn't have him back, right? We talked about this. I mean, one too many times, right? You've put your name in there before. You call it a day, young man.
Well, my mic was off. We'll go with hell no instead now the mic's on.
No, so he's gone, right? So he's gone, and then from there you wondered if that's adding to the woes. Well, if he were healthy and he could play up to his ability, because we've seen him flash when he plays, it's just been rare that he plays. Yes, it would be a loss. I don't know that we could have counted on him going into the season. I don't know that I was. I prefer to have numbers, so it's never good to see a guy leave who, when healthy, can contribute. At the same time, I still think we're going to be better, in particular in the interior. I do think we'll be better. We're not going to be good. Again, we're in the middle of talking about just being bad. That said, one other number came out. Florida State a 1-point favorite over Miami.
That, to me, is so much more believable because they were a mess last year. That game, do you even want to go back and rewatch it if it's on TV, even if it was just the first half?
Our game against Miami?
Yeah.
No. Because I was there and I saw the show.
But, I mean, even if we won, I don't know that you'd even watch that. Let's just say we held on.
I never really get tired of watching us beat Miami. I can watch it no matter how ugly
watch
the
those two teams, quote unquote, go toe to toe.
You won't even go.
I mean, think about like the block at the Hard Rock, right? and DeMarcus Walker ripping the hearts out. That was a fun montage to do just because we could go back and throw the annals of history in this decade where Miami's back every single year, and you could find excerpts of everybody saying that, only to be wrong.
Repeatedly, yeah.
But that was way more fun than watching the game. That game's terrible. Those two teams are terrible. You get to like the middle of the second quarter, you go, God, other than Dalvin Cook, what the hell am I watching?
Well, last year's game, the thing that's struck me was how terrible Miami's quarterback play was, and how we were in the middle of a situation where if you just didn't give him field position, I was feeling very good about our chances. Then you get the kickoff, the punt return, and I'm thinking, oh, well, here it is. That's it. Well, I mean, literally could have run the ball up the middle and punted. We didn't.
That's what you're going to remember this game for decades. We'll have come out of it. We'll be back and doing some good things, winning 10, 11 games. The year's 2025, and you'll still remember that third down play call. You won't remember Walt Bell's name, and you'll remember that play call.
Well, because I was first guessing it and saying repeatedly to my buddy Matt Britton, who was sitting right next to me, we better not drop him back. He has no pocket awareness, and we can't block. It's a deadly combination. Miami's desperate. They're going to send the house, try to get pressure, and they'll probably cause a turnover. And then it happened, and as soon as he got hit, I thought he fumbled. Here we go.
So you were hanging out with said friend this weekend for the holiday. Did that come up? Did that game come up?
No. Neither one of us brought it up.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it came up at least once a day.
Not at all.
Good for you, man.
Not one time. Not one time. In fact, the only time Florida State football came up was in passing when we were just talking about the hires and we were kind of banting about our situation, like where we thought we'd be in a year from now or what we were thinking this time last year came up. But no, we were glued to the softball. We were watching. We were making sure that we were setting up the plan so that we could be able to watch the softball, and then from there, we just enjoyed the beach, did the right thing. But no, Florida State football, we're still a month away from that being a daily conversation, and not that incident, not that situation.
I just figured, you might see him and say, "Remember the last time we hung out for an extended period, and it was Florida State Miami? Yeah, that sucked."
No, we keep talking about the only time, and we do what we do on this show. We'll just scratch the surface, W's and L's, look at some lines, talk about what we think, what would turn. I think there's this realization that you can't win the division anyhow. So you really need to hyper-focus on taking a big step forward from where we were. If obviously 5-7 ain't going to get it done. If Willie has anything close to that kind of a season this year, he's done. In essence, maybe not officially, but he will be in the minds of most of this fan base, and he'll find it exceedingly difficult to get it turned back around, even with that third year.
Good luck getting yeses from kids.
But that's what I mean, right? You'd be in real trouble. And so the only thing I bring up on a regular basis is what's the record have to be to, keep from losing what's shaping up to be a really good class right now. So what's that look like? Is that 8-4? Is that 9-3? Is that 7-5? What's the worst case scenario in which you could keep 90% of that class? Because again, that's a class that I think they've been able to, by and large, put together in a surprising fashion. And then B, what's the top end? What's given the schedule, given the offensive line issues we just discussed? What's the best they could hope for? And I really think it begins with just hyper-focusing on the first three games. When you have the conversation, you have to split, bare minimum, Boise State and Virginia. Now, you're going to win the middle game, your home opener, ULM. But you've got to win one of those two, if not both. And if you do that, if you're 3-0 for a team that won just 5 games a year ago, with all of the locker room turnover and turmoil, and with sort of not just the divided nature, but there was sort of an incendiary feel to the positions of leadership on this team a year ago. You had a distrust of the coaches and a distrust of the players in that locker room. You had veteran players who were lying to the head coach. You had veteran players who didn't believe in the new coaches, who didn't believe in Walt Bell. You had problems around every turn. So that all leads to a disaster. You go 5-7. You get off to a good start after changes within that staff that, by all accounts, the kids love Kendall Briles, love Clements. Certainly, I mean, look, across the board, what we've been able to do with Dugans, Clements, those guys are well received.
Yeah, they're talked about night and day is how the kids pretty much describe it.
Right.
Oh, well, now it feels like we know what we're doing.
Well, and that's beyond a quote from the president or the new athletic director. That's stuff we're hearing on the ground. That's stuff that kids are telling people close to them, not reporters, but people close to them that are then revealing, hey, you know what? It's legit. They like these guys.
Still clicking the pens, but yes, that's what
I'm
we're
saying,
hearing.
We're hearing that as a positive buzz. So why do I bring that up? Well, I bring that up because if they go 3-0, all of a sudden what's possible radically shifts because now you have some talent, certainly at the skill position.
Right, they can fake it till they make it to 9 or 10 wins.
That's right. They could be the fraudulent, fool's gold Miami team that goes 7-0 to start a year, and everybody talks about how good they are, and really it's been turnover luck and a number of, strange occurrences, but we know better, right? But I don't care. I don't care because what happens in every one of those situations? What happens is the casual fan, and certainly the high school kid or the middle school kid watching, believes. They just see the record, they watch the ESPN highlights, and they go, oh, they're winning. Look at that. That looks like a fun atmosphere. It looks like they've got that turned around, and you create a buzz that simply doesn't exist around Florida State right now. I mean, it's a sort of a frustrating situation to be in because you can't create it till the season starts, and the only way that you can create it then is to win those games. So if they do that, and it's a big if, they could be in line to win 8-9 games.
On my drive back, as I was going up I-10 westbound, which is the
boring.
Yeah, I was thinking about how last year this time, if you poll the fan base, and one of the questions or one of the remarks could have been percentage chance that Florida State goes 5-7, misses a bowl this year, right? And it's just you could sign A, B, C, D, like 0, 25, 50, something like that. I think most every fan would have said to some degree, that's not even in the ballpark of reasonable or possible. I mean, we'll win 6 or 7 games minimum. We're probably going to win like 9 or 10. I think that's where the fan base was this time last year because of how good the spring tour was. All of the positive momentum Willie had built up on the recruiting circuit, salvaging that class. And then going out speaking the message that everybody wanted to hear about unity, bringing Bowden back in the program. It felt like everything was just healed. And the way spring ball was, the spring game was a home run. I bet the fan base, maybe 5 to 10% of it, thought we'd miss a bowl, or that's a reasonable possibility. But this year, I bet you that percentage is drastically higher. It's probably closer to half the fan base that thinks, yeah, we could go 5-7 or 6-6 again.
I don't know about half. I think most people are optimistic. I think, especially when it comes to sports, hope springs eternal with people. They want to believe, and Willie's a likable guy. You have some hardcore folks who last year, that was it. They're going to steer clear, and they don't believe. And I'm not mad at people who, if given time, lay out sound reasons for their grave concerns. I don't get mad about that. I get mad at the knee-jerk reactors who don't recognize some of the contributing factors that were not Willie's fault. If you look at it in its entirety and you still have grave concerns and you lay those out clearly and concisely, I'm okay with that. I can deal with that fan. And I'm not even mad. But most people, I don't think, fall in the category of this is irredeemable, that this is so far down the tracks from being good that they just don't see a way in which they could win 8 games. I don't think that most of the fan base believes that. I think they think there are enough automatically winnable games because this is a weak schedule.
Well, and it's well laid out, too, which we've gone over a bunch. But, I mean, do you think it's a reasonable possibility that we could win 6 games or 5 games? Is that, like, within the realm of reasonable, or is that something that you think is outside the goalposts?
No, you mean
I'm asking you.
But you're saying at best.
No, that it's an outcome. That it is a legitimately possible outcome.
If this is FUBAR, then yes. Okay.
Is it legitimately possible that this is FUBAR? I guess is my question. Like, okay, so it's not reasonable to predict a 12-win season or an 11-win season. But is it equally as unreasonable to predict a 6-win season or a 5-win season?
No, it's more likely they go 6-6 than 11-1. I agree with you.
How about 5-7 and 11-1?
More likely 5-7 than 11-1.
10-2 or 5-7.
10-2.
This is what I'm getting at here.
10-2. Because again, Boise. Listen, if I lay out Boise State, Louisiana Monroe, Virginia, Louisville, remember won 2 games. They're terrible. We beat them. And this year on the road,
we got lucky to beat them,
but we did on the road. If I lay out for you in any given year, if I remove the name Florida State and put, I don't know, who's another average-ass team. If I told you Miami's schedule was Boise State, Louisiana Monroe, Virginia, Louisville, NC State, at Clemson, at Wake, Syracuse, Florida State, at Boston College, Alabama State, and Florida, you'd be pissed. You'd go, boy, Miami's got it easy. They'll fall into 8 wins. That's what you'd say.
Yeah, I'd say 7 or 8 wins. With that
right, that's what
Miami.
you'd say.
Yeah.
When I saw that schedule, I went, okay, you got to find a way to split Boise State and Virginia, which, by the way, is a low freaking bar. I'm not trying to disrespect Boise State and Virginia, but we're Florida State. Good Christ. If you can't split Boise State and Virginia, then we really do have to really go back to the drawing board here and maybe – I mean, what do we do?
That would be how many years in a row that the season is over in September?
Oh, I don't. So anyhow, assuming you go 2-1 to start that, and I think they can go 3-0, and I really do believe they could go 3-0. But I'll say 2-1.
The reason I brought that all up, you see what I'm getting at. Is last year we believed the same thing, and so I just wonder: are we deluding ourselves again, or is it really different this time?
Who are the automatic losses? Who are the games on the schedule? Who are the teams on the schedule that you say there is no chance we win that game within reason? Obviously, weird things happen. Somebody turns it over 6 times. It's played in a hailstorm. You get 2 special teams touchdowns. None of the absurd outliers. You're just talking about 2 teams playing reasonably close to their best. Who can't we beat? Okay, Clemson. Can't beat Clemson. Gotcha. On the road, we're going to get hammered by that team, probably. Anybody else? Is there any other game that if you play your best and they play their best, you can't win? There's not another one of those games. There's not another one.
You're 100% right, but what I'd argue is who are the automatic wins? Okay. I don't believe we have the right beyond FCS teams to declare an automatic win beyond maybe Wake in conference.
Oh, well, no, you're playing that game on the road.
Louisville, I guess.
Louisville, you would say. Wake, you would like to believe, certainly. For Louisiana Monroe, like you said. Alabama State, like you said.
That's 4.
Okay, so that's up to 4. No, the rest aren't automatic.
NC State, if we're being Boise, no. Virginia, no.
No, if you're being reasonable, they're not automatic. But that's when we get into the percentage game. That's when we start going, well.
Because the funny part is last year, anytime we played somebody good, it was an automatic loss. It wasn't close.
No, it really wasn't. The lone exception was Boston College, who finished above us in the standings, by the way, and we beat them. It took a lot to make it happen, but we did win.
Don Tavius, we need more of that. Whoever you were that day.
He was a man possessed that day.
Pro Football Focus loved him against the run. Did you see he's the top-graded linebacker in the ACC against the run of returning players?
Again, Pro Football Focus is...
It did love Levonta Taylor the year before, so that's fair.
Oh, here we went down the rabbit hole that I avoided over the beach weekend. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men on a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. Look around. That's right, you see Nissans everywhere. Tallahassee has officially become a Nissan town. Kraft Nissan town. Why? Because Kraft Nissan has the best pricing, best selection, and the best buying experience in town. And at Kraft Nissan, you get the best value for your dollar with more standard features, our exclusive and the original lifetime warranty, our easy choice menu that gives you a price and payment in writing, our new For You program that helps people with damaged credit, and every new 2018 Nissan we sell has available 0% interest for 60 months, plus $1,000 over Kelley Blue Book for your trade. Best of all, my people are the best in the business. They'll greet you with a smile and a handshake, and they know your time is valuable. My managers are always accessible, and of course, you can always ask for me or my brother Peter. Bottom line, if you need a new or pre-owned car, you need to experience the Kraft difference. Great people, great product, great price, with the best car buying experience in town. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag on your car, you paid too much, way too much.
Pros know doing it right means buying in bulk to save time and save money too. Lowe's does it right by stocking job lot quantities of fence pickets, posts, and concrete every day. And at 5% savings when you buy in bulk. Save time by ordering ahead at lowesforpros.com. We offer job site delivery 7 days a week, so save even more time by having your order delivered. For the supplies you need to give your customers a fence they'll love. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. See Pro Desk for details, U.S. only.
Take me out to the ball game.
Indeed. And with weather like this, it's good to see you out on this magnificent, sizable deck.
It is quite impressive. You can see it all the way from the stadium.
What a deck. What a deck indeed.
I hear that a lot.
You know, I remember, what was it, mid-90s you opened up? Place was so small.
Now it's huge.
All I know is a lot of good times have been spent on this deck. Man, people enjoy it. They laugh, they sing, they drink, they eat, and they celebrate all the goodness of the Gordo's deck.
And you can come have a Gordo Smash.
Delicious. Sitting on the deck with a Gordo Smash. That's a good day at the office.
Or put a Cuban in your mouth.
And other food. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Weese. At this hour, the soap opera that is the Lakers apparently far messier than originally thought. Sources told ESPN's Baxter Holmes that under now former team president Magic Johnson and GM Rob Pelinka, the Lakers were filled with dysfunction both off and on the court and included managers who berated staffers and created an in-house culture that inspired fear. The only choice owner Jeannie Buss has now, let LeBron James run the show in L.A., believes ESPN's Jay Williams.
If I'm Jeannie Buss, I'm going and having a meeting with LeBron James and saying, I'm just giving you autonomy. I'm giving you the autonomy. I don't want anybody else to walk into any kind of free agent meeting room. I want it just to be you. I want you to tell Rob Pelinka what you feel like you need with this current team to help us get to where we want to go. I want LeBron to take on relations. It's more responsibility, but right now, I don't know if you have any other choice.
More on this developing story on SportsCenter at 6 Eastern. R.J. Hampton, the number 5 prospect in the class of 2019, told Get Up he's skipping college hoops and has signed a contract with the New Zealand Breakers of the Australian National Basketball League. Hampton currently projected as the number 6 pick in the ESPN 2020 mock NBA draft. Major League Baseball has placed Phillies outfielder Odubel Herrera on administrative leave following his arrest on a charge of simple assault following a domestic incident in Atlantic City with his girlfriend last night. MLB is investigating the matter. After a year out of the NFL, offensive lineman Richie Incognito has signed with the Raiders. Incognito, who turns 36 in July, could be a starter for Oakland. NHL, the Oilers named former Stars and Coyotes coach Dave Tippett as their new head coach. Soccer, Gennaro Gattuso out as AC Milan manager. He and the team mutually agreed on the move. AC Milan just missed out on qualification for the Champions League next season.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. I was worried about today. I had a crown put in, but you guessed it. I'm still tough as nails.
I thought the payoff was going to be it came out or something. Or you're in, serious pain.
I was able to handle it. Not any problems. Did all right. I don't like the process, though. Nobody does. The hardest part is you have to sit there and, endure. I hate it's not even the sound of the drilling or anything like that. Like, a lot of people get freaked out by that. I don't get freaked out by the sound of the drilling. I don't like the water suction thing. I hate it. It's just troublesome. Sometimes they overdo it because I know they have to make sure that area it doesn't have any saliva or whatever. That's all fine, but damn it, man. Over and over. I was 2 hours. 2 hours sitting there.
2-hour procedure?
2 hours.
Oh, my God. Was it actually 2 hours of continuous work, or was it like 15 minutes and you got to sit there for another 10?
No, it was largely continuous work. It's a tedious process, as they informed me when I got there.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got to go back in 3 weeks just to do it again. This is the temporary one. Then they put on another, like a permanent one, and it's a big to-do. They did all kinds of stuff today on the tooth. I was like, yeah. I was complaining at length to my wife afterwards. She said, well, they could have just ripped your tooth out, man. Well, good point. Yeah. But there's a part of me that's just like, yeah. What I always wondered about this with people in the olden days, man. God, dog, life was tough. Not only could you be eaten alive on the regular, die of the Black Plague, whatever it might be, something sweeps through your city, boom, grand opening, grand closing, just like that. But toothaches, little things that you take for granted, toothaches that can be remedied rather quickly.
It's like watching Deadwood, the episodes of Deadwood and all the ways you can go, which the new one comes out this week, I'm told.
Giddy. Been a while since I've been giddy about the release of something. Downright giddy. Here we go.
You think they can capture the magic?
I think
You're
so.
You're not going to be overtaken by the fact that, God, these people are so much older.
No, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I am pleased. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am. I have been waiting for this for a long time because they left us in the lurch. And that was one of the great shows. I mean, it's Shakespearean in the way that it's sing-songy and the lyrical nature of the dialogue.
The only thing I could do without is the actor who plays Hearst. He's the guy who played Major Dad on the sitcom back in the day. He also is in the old Kevin Spacey House of Cards. He's one of the bad billionaire guys. That actor is just
he bothers you.
He doesn't ruin the show.
No,
but
not
he
at all.
detracts from the show a little bit. He's just so bland.
I think that's kind of what they want.
I get it.
Situations
removed emotionally.
I butchered any chance I had to go into some sort of.
When you have Al Swearingen on one side, you got to have a little bit more zest.
That's the problem. Is you have one of the greatest characters in cinematic history, and he's written and acted perfectly.
It's one of those things.
That marriage,
you can
is
never
perfect.
reboot that character.
No,
you can't do it.
He should have had a spinoff. Like we talk about
Just
Better Call Saul
Swearingen's.
type thing. Yeah, he should have had a spinoff.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Lee Trucking Company in Arlington, Georgia.
Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram is the Jeep headquarters of America. We've purchased over 100 Jeep Renegades, and they've all arrived and are on the lot for immediate delivery. 2018 Jeep Renegade Latitude with MSRP starting at $25,120. On sale now for $18,870. That's a savings of $6,250. A new Jeep starting at only $18,870. Those prices are unheard of and can only be found at your Jeep headquarters of America, Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. No other dealer can offer you this kind of savings. We We buy in mass quantities and pass along the savings to you. 2018 Jeep Renegade Latitude, starting at $18,870. Payments as low as $299 a month. On the corner of West Tennessee and Capitol Circle, where we're right on the corner and always right on the price. Check us out on the web at TallahasseeDCJ.com. All prices include rebates and incentives plus tax, title, and dealer fees. State number 18J605. Must finance through Chrysler Capital and qualify for all rebates and incentives.
Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey sponsors Braves baseball so that all of you can enjoy the action. Ever since the days of Hank Aaron and Dale Murphy, we've been Tallahassee's home run hitting law firm. And because we don't get paid unless we win, we want to win every case as much as Chipper Jones wanted to win every game. So when you're injured, don't just trust any law firm to handle your case. Make the call to the bullpen for a trusted closer. To see our stats on the back of our baseball card, visit wrongfullyinjured.com. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Personal injury law is all we do.
Spilled your red wine? Quick, the Quicker Picker-Upper. Bounty picks up spills and messes quicker and is 2 times more absorbent than the leading ordinary brand, so you can get back on track quicker. Bounty, the Quicker Picker-Upper.
After 40 years as Florida State Baseball's head coach, Mike Martin Sr. is making this his final season. Join all of us here at Garnet and Gold as we celebrate the farewell tour for the winningest coach in college baseball history with limited edition commemorative baseballs, t-shirts, and caps in stock right now. And while you're here, check out Nike's hot new line of FSU baseball jerseys, tees, and ball caps. Garnet and Gold with 3 locations, West Pensacola Street, Collard, and Governor Square Boulevard. If you're a Seminole, we're your store. Shop local and go Noles.
Who's ready for the best wings in Tally and locally brewed beers? Hobbit American Grill is the place to be. They've been voted Tally's best wings again in 2018. Hobbit offers Bingo Mondays, happy hour all-day Fridays with craft beers on tap from all the local breweries. And the Hobbit is your home for all the UFC fights with plenty of high-def TVs for everyone. Be on the lookout for the food truck coming soon with the best lip-smacking wings in town. Hobbit American Grill, celebrating 40 years of serving great food to great friends for good times. For info on their hours and 3 locations, visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
Hi, Chris Kraft for the all-new Infinity of Tallahassee, the newest Kraft Brothers dealership. As we get ready to break ground on the new Kraft Infinity store, Peter and I thought, why not have a founding 50 with lots of cool stuff for 50 special buyers? And when we say special benefits, we mean it. Here's just some of what you'll get. Free lifetime oil changes, free lifetime powertrain warranty, and free gas fill-up with factory scheduled maintenance. I told you this was special, and there's more. Free car wash and loaner cars, a gold license plate frame, and a commemorative brick at our new store. Plus, my favorite, the white glove treatment with front-of-the-line service priority. It's Tallahassee's first truly VIP car buying and servicing experience. So if you're in the market for a luxury vehicle, you need to look at Infinity of Tallahassee. Seriously, no haggle pricing, and every time you come in for factory scheduled maintenance, we change your oil for free, wash your car, and even fill it up with gas. It's Infinity of Tallahassee's founding 50, so prepare to be pampered. Infinity of Tallahassee, 3355 Capitol Circle Northeast, next to Ted's Montana Grill.
Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. At this hour, the soap opera that is the Lakers apparently far messier than originally thought. Sources told ESPN's Baxter Holmes that under now former team president Magic Johnson and GM Rob Pelinka, the Lakers were filled with dysfunction both off and on the court and included managers who berated staffers and created an in-house culture that inspired fear. The only choice owner Jeannie Buss has now, let LeBron James run the show in L.A., believes ESPN's Jay Williams.
If I'm Jeannie Buss, I'm going and having a meeting with LeBron James and saying, I'm just giving you autonomy. I'm giving you the autonomy. I don't want anybody else to walk into any kind of free agent meeting room. I want it just to be you. I want you to tell Rob Pelinka what you feel like you need with this current team to help us get to where we want to go. I want LeBron to take on relations. It's more responsibility, but right now, I don't know if you have any other choice.
More on this developing story on SportsCenter at 6 Eastern. R.J. Hampton, the number 5 prospect in the class of 2019, told Get Up he's skipping college hoops and has signed a contract with the New Zealand Breakers of the Australian National Basketball League. Hampton currently projected as the number 6 pick in the ESPN 2020 mock NBA draft. Major League Baseball has placed Phillies outfielder Odubel Herrera on administrative leave following his arrest on a charge of simple assault following a domestic incident in Atlantic City with his girlfriend last night. MLB is investigating the matter. After a year out of the NFL, offensive lineman Richie Incognito has signed with the Raiders. Incognito, who turns 36 in July, could be a starter for Oakland. NHL, the Oilers named former Stars and Coyotes coach Dave Tippett as their new head coach. Soccer, Gennaro Gattuso out as AC Milan manager. He and the team mutually agreed on the move. AC Milan just missed out on qualification for the Champions League next season.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. The Noles will be playing on Friday at noon, so we learned over the weekend, and Drew Parrish will get to start for Florida State. All right, get you some FAU, followed by CJ Van Eyck against probably Georgia in the second game, and you win that first one, you raise hopes there. All right, let's hold out hope. Georgia is a real good baseball team, 44-15, number 4 national seed, but you're going to have to beat somebody good when you go into a tournament on the road. You weren't capable of posting the record, 36-21 overall, 17-13 in conference in order to host, so you knew you were going to go take it somewhere where they had had a fine season, but the game of baseball is weird. And, certainly there's a lot of chance involved in a singular game. Now, can you string together 4, 5, 6, God forbid 11 straight games in order to, or wins total, in order to be able to win a national championship, win a regional, win a super regional, win some games out in the CWS? I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Just got to win a few here. Just try to go up there and give yourself a fighting chance to be in a meaningful game. That starts by winning that first one. You're absolutely right. You lose that game, probably not good enough to string together the amount of wins necessary to come out after losing a first game with your ace.
I see you're wearing your Bulldogs polo there. Your Bulldogs ESPN polo.
My red ESPN, red and black ESPN shirt. It's a beautiful shirt.
Does that mean you're going to infiltrate Athens this week?
I don't think I'm headed up to Athens this week. I'm going to hold out, man. I'm going to assume we win the regional. How about that?
Oh, my.
I'm going to assume we win the regional in Athens. I want to take it up to Baton Rouge and see LSU and the inviting fans that follow that program. You want to tailgate. You want to tailgate with people from LSU. They do it up. They do it right. And they're inviting. They're kind. I mean, we're not an arch rival, so it's not like they'd be like, oh, these bastards. They come on down, guys.
We'll take your hospitality, your gumbo, and your ticket to the CWS.
Yeah, they have a lot of fun. Louisiana's fun that way. New Orleans is fun that way. But LSU fans are fun that way, too. They have a good time.
Like, it's hot. It sucks. You know what?
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Have
Music.
a good time.
That's what we're going to do. Music and culture and great food. And here we go. Let's go
denim
watch
overalls.
Let's go watch a little baseball, baby. Let's go make it happen. Again, I wasn't all that worried that Florida State would get in. I thought they would. It turns out that maybe they needed that NC State win a little bit more than we realized. But I do think, and I did think they would have gotten in anyhow. I know there's some people who disagree with that. At the end of the day, this was a weird bunch. They, at times, played really good baseball, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. You recall, we actually left room for it to happen when they were in the middle of playing really poorly, and I think they had lost was it 13 out of 19 or something like that, and they had played so poorly, and I said, well, we've seen this act before, though. We've seen them bounce back. We've seen them turn it around, and really we've seen it from teams that were not showing signs that was in there. This team has some young players, has some talent. When they're all playing well, obviously we can score runs in bunches, but we're also the kind of team that, loses series to bad teams. So I don't know what to think.
Well, and the first time we really faced a lot of pressure this season, it was an implosion. That's what sent us in the death spiral, was an implosion from an advantageous position. And so even if we're up and we're comfortable in a game this upcoming weekend, you're never comfortable. Because when we felt everything was right with the world, everything was right with the program, we got off to a good start.
Oh, we got off to a flying start.
We're going to right the wrong against Florida. Here we go. We got the lead. Everything seems to be going in our favor. Got a giant home run, oppo from J.C. Flowers. It's just an error. And then it's another mistake, and another mistake, and another. And then a month later, you're looking back at that situation in Gainesville and saying, how did I believe this team was good in the first place? And then it rattles off some wins. It's not a logical bunch. So just embrace every win where you can get it, if you can get it from here on out.
I think what's interesting, though, you look at the season as it played out this year, and you look at the teams that are annually considered to be amongst the best in college baseball, and you find oddities like Florida. Okay, so you just mentioned Florida. We know what they've been, which is a lot better program than we've been as of late. They went 33-24. You would not have expected that coming into the season.
Yeah, the RPI liked them a lot more than the selection committee did.
Yeah.
You look at their RPI, and it's really healthy, and then you'd see them in the last 4 in or the first 4 out discussion for the, like we were. And you're like, how's that possible?
Well, they were 33rd in the RPI, depending on where you're looking. They weren't.
Well, I mean, that's 17 places, maybe 20 places better than us, depending upon where you're looking. And if they're in the discussion of first 4 or first 5 out when we're getting in, you just, wow, where does that come from?
Yeah, it's strange, too. I mean, I think, okay, let's use Miami also in our conference, and they took 2 of 3 from us. They went 39-19, 39-18, 27th in the RPI. I guess my point is, and I know not all schedules are created equally, and you do have to look at the RPI, and you do have to look at strength of schedule. But, and Miami had, the 75th rated strength of schedule? Wasn't great. And they're 39-18. The reason Florida was well thought of, despite that record that is 7 games over 500, is that they had a top 20 strength of schedule. I don't know. I guess it gets back to what I was saying. I haven't seen UCLA play. I haven't seen Stanford play. I haven't seen UC Santa Barbara, who amassed a great record but has a 109th rated strength of schedule. I'm trying to find the teams that we say definitely dominate. UCLA seems to be on that list. Haven't seen them play. Again, I try to find teams that put together very impressive win-loss records while also facing a strength of schedule in the top 25. And you'll see a team like Mississippi State or a team like Stanford in that category. Georgia finished with a record of 44-15, 27th in strength of schedule. They seem formidable. Certainly they do, and they ride their pitching to get there. But this has been a strange year in the sport because a lot of the powerhouse teams that we associate anyhow with annual domination have been teams that really kind of scuffle to put together any sort of decent record. Nobody's running away with stuff.
So I looked at the quick summary that ESPN.com did on the field, the college baseball field, if you're just looking at the national seeds and the contenders to win it all. And I didn't realize that Georgia was the program to collapse when Fresno State won one of its national championships.
I do, yeah.
That was Georgia's last foray, going deep and making a deep run to Omaha or looking like a program of significance. Last year they set the table, but they didn't cash in on it. And so they're trying to get over that mental hurdle. And if you've got a program that's been starving for a while, and they want to win some meaningful baseball games, but
pressure,
it hangs
buddy.
in the balance.
Pressure.
Right. It's not that they have a distinct advantage over us. Yes, we will implode, but they might too. So there could be a lot of terrible baseball to come this weekend.
Hey, I think that you can always find the glass to be half full. Look, when we play at home, there's a certain amount of pressure that comes with that, right? The higher seeded bunch, you got to get back out to Omaha, you got to get it done. So to your point, George is expected to win this regional. They've been the best of the 4 teams that are there. It really isn't that close. You look at their RPI, you look at their win-loss record against that schedule, you look at their starting pitching, and you say they should win this. But we know it's just not that easy in the sport of baseball. You lose a game and your back's up against it. You begin to see the demons and to feel the pressure that comes with that. Sure. So put a little game pressure on them. Put them in a moment to have to face their mortality, at least within the region, right? Let them know. And you do that by winning your game. This is an established program. Mike Martin is the winningest coach in college baseball history. You can bet the cachet that is associated with the Garnet and Gold walking into that stadium if they are to win a game, say impressively. Drew Parrish pitches well. We look to like the team that beat NC State. And we put a performance on that sees us win, 8-2. Instantly, there's a weight that comes with that matchup.
Let me ask you this question, and if it's fair or not, because I know what I've seen for the last, close to 15 years now of watching Florida State baseball. I did in the early 90s, or late 90s, I should say, but I was a kid, so I don't know what I'm watching at that time. It seems to me that in the bigger moments in the history of this baseball program, that Mike Martin is a little bit more present on the camera. Like, he might call guys out of the batter's box to talk to him a little bit more. He seems to be more involved in very small parts of the game. Maybe on borderline, I'm going to use the term over-managing in those types of moments. I just wonder this weekend if he's going to kick back and let the kids go get him kind of a thing, or if he's going to monitor every single move, every single decision. If there's a 1-2 count, he's going to pull the guy out of the batter's box because he didn't like the way the umpire called balls and strikes for that at bat. To me, he seems more present in rivalry games and big games when they matter a lot and things aren't going that well. I wonder if he's going to be the same guy, or if he's going to have a devil-may-care attitude a little bit just because of we're underdogs in this fight.
I think he's tried it every which way, though, to be truthful. I think there were times during his career where maybe he overmanaged or he was overly involved in interacting with guys and at-bats and the things that you're describing. I know certainly reputations are built in critical moments, right? So if you make a mistake in a big game, the imprint that leaves on the psyche for the fans who in the moment are frustrated by what they saw. But then, the following year, a coach or a player learns from that mistake and they don't recreate it, and they don't get credit for that, especially if you don't go on to win it all. But maybe you do something differently, having experienced that mistake, that loss, and you win a game and nobody really notices it because that's how the game of baseball happens. We go back retroactively and we look at a play that's made or not made, and it affects the reputation of a manager forevermore. And it's really just a matter of whether or not a guy picks up a ground ball. I think he's tried a lot of different ways. Over the years, I thought he changed to some degree. He's never going to change who he is. You can't. But I think that he got more relaxed as time went on. Certainly, he agreed to change the way that he approached the game offensively. So, for example, I used to call it the punch and Judy baseball that we played with a lethal weapon in our hands in the 90s. You have this aluminum bat in which scores are 17-10, and we're butting people over and not playing for big innings. That pissed me off, but he didn't continue to do that. He changed his approach on that. He was able to adapt. I don't know what he'll be like this weekend because he is at the end of a career. He is 2 losses away from never coaching college baseball again, in all likelihood, right? He's retiring. So I don't know what that does to a person who's had as long and distinguished a career as he's had. Does it loosen you up to say, who cares? Let's let it ride, man. Let's have fun. I've seen this thing through. I have an awful lot to be proud of. I'm not ashamed of anything I did in this career. Go have fun, boys, and don't worry about me. Go win the game for yourselves, and let's see what happens. Or is he uptight? I don't know. I would like to believe that as the team that comes in as a 3 seed that was thought of as a last 4 in, who's not a juggernaut, who's not one of his better clubs, I think he's more likely, save for the deficiencies of the team, to go on a run if you're only considering psyche in this scenario than you would be if they were a national 2 seed hosting a regional against a team that's playing really, really well and coming in hot. I just feel like the weight of having to win those, having to win those games at Mike Martin Field, Dick Howser Stadium at the end of a career.
Yeah, finish the job because you're expected to.
Right.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that would be much more difficult to overcome. Not that you couldn't, but that it would be much more difficult.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, just from this is a while ago now. I'm sure that there are a lot of people like Ira who said, "Well, you think you've been covering the team for a while," but doing some beat reporting back in the early part of this decade, sometimes if the games were bigger, you'd see a different attitude from where he was standing.
I've had players tell me that, but I've also had players say no. I mean, I don't. That's an interesting thing about his legacy, by the way, Tom. I get a sense that there would be a wide array of opinions about the way he managed, say, in the 90s with some of those juggernaut teams, as to the way he coached later on, having learned from some of the mistakes out there. I think you talk to different players from different eras, they saw a different Martin. Stands to reason, if I'm 40 years old, I'm a lot different than I was when I was 20 and a lot different than I'm going to be when I'm 60. The core of who I am stays the same and my values stay the same, but the way I view the world, view the game, view the moment differs based on age and experience.
Well, and I'm sure, I'm sure he feels a little bit embattled too with the way, it's like, yes, he's retiring, but is it 100% the way he wants to go kind of a thing? And this group is an underdog from the Florida series or that Tuesday down in Gainesville. From that point to now, they've been underdogs because of the way the implosion happened.
Yeah, they've kept
after the fast start. It may be that he has the pulse of this team better because it is, by nature, an underdog that, you know what, I'm going to defy you. You tell me it's time. It's not time yet. It's not time. There's another weekend. And after that weekend, there's going to be another weekend.
Well, maybe, and it would be a fun rallying cry, and you don't know in baseball because it's different than football, right, where that kind of emotion can be displayed before a game and guys will run through a brick wall to go hit the opposing team. But it doesn't work that way in baseball, right? You get into
but I think in college
third or fourth inning.
I think in college baseball it might. Much more so than like a AA baseball game or in the World Series.
Yes.
Because if I've got Clayton Kershaw in his prime, you're screwed.
Yeah, doesn't matter how emotional you are, you're in trouble, yeah.
But we've seen top picks, dudes that went on to have distinguished Major League Baseball.
Fall to pieces on the road in a regional here because it got so loud, yeah.
But you could fall to pieces in Athens if you're one of Georgia's top pitchers and you're down 2-0 and you're feeling the weight of the world because the fan base is tired of not closing the deal.
I think he's empathetic to this team. I think he has shown some sympathy to their plight. Having to hear all of the questions about him and his career and the end of it. I think he's kind of felt bad for them. It's not his fault. I mean, this is what it was always going to happen because that's how the end of Hall of Fame careers go. But, if you're a freshman on this team, that's a lot to have to handle. You're thrown into the starting lineup, Nander Desadas or something like that. You got to deal with that. That's tough. And I think he feels for them. And I think he likes them. He's been sort of it's interesting when he talks about this group. He knows they're flawed. He knows they've had problems. He knows there's been stretches where they haven't played good baseball, but he's always defended them and kind of like my guys because they do keep getting back up. That game against NC State's proof of that, right?
That's stones, man.
That's a whole lot of chutzpah.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachie Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
It's bow time at Bojangles. Need a flavorful, convenient meal? Come in today for 8 pieces of Bojangles perfectly seasoned chicken for just $9.99 and get 4 free made-from-scratch buttermilk biscuits. Every piece of Bojangles flavorful bone-in chicken is fresh, never frozen, and hand-breaded not once, but twice. Hurry in today for 8 pieces of chicken for just $9.99 and get 4 free biscuits. Only available for a limited time. Bojangles, it's bow time.
Witness the birth of the next great hit song from the executive producer of The Voice. It's Songland. Undiscovered songwriters and the hottest producers, including CMA and Grammy winner Shane McAnally, will come together to create the next hit song. With superstar artists like Old Dominion, Kelsey Ballerini, John Legend, the Jonas Brothers, One Republic, and many more. You might witness the creation of your next favorite song. Songland premieres tonight on NBC.
Time now for your Atlanta Braves Minute. Brought to you by Fonville, Lewis, Messer, and McConaughey. Personal injury law is all they do.
Yesterday, the Braves had the day off, but they're coming off a very successful series in St. Louis where the Braves took 2 of 3. In fact, Sunday's finale was a very exciting win as the Braves came from behind to beat the Cardinals 4-3. It was this big base hit for the Braves that tied things up in the ninth that it came from the bat of Ozzie Albies.
Second and third, one out. 3-2 pitch. Line drive right field. That's going to fall. Base hit. Markakis is in. Riley will be held at third base. They've got Albies in a rundown between first and second. Running him back towards second base. Riley edging away at third. Tag is made. Riley holds. The game is tied at 3, but a base running mistake by Albies cost the Braves a big out.
That made it a 3-3 affair. Braves picked up one more in the 10th inning and beat the Cardinals by a final score of 4-3. And altogether, they went 5-2 on that road trip. Now the Braves are home for 5, and they see the Washington Nationals for the very first time of the year. They take on the Nats tonight at 7:20 Eastern, 6:20 Central. Lefty Max Fried goes for the Braves, and he takes on right-hander Steven Strasburg. And, of course, we'll have all that action right here on the Braves Radio Network. I'm Ben Ingram, and this has been your Atlanta Braves Radio Network update.
Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey sponsors Braves baseball so that all of you can enjoy the action. Ever since the days of Hank Aaron and Dale Murphy, we've been Tallahassee's home run hitting law firm. And because we don't get paid unless we win, we want to win every case as much as Chipper Jones wanted to win every game. So when you're injured, don't just trust any law firm to handle your case. Make the call to the bullpen for a trusted closer. To see our stats on the back of our baseball card, visit wrongfullyinjured.com. Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey. Personal injury law is all we do.
The Braves are back, and as 2019 heats up, Atlanta is looking for some huge wins as they set off to defend the division crown.
Hit to left field solidly. 2 runs will score. Snitker rolls the dice, and it comes up a winner.
Atlanta Braves baseball on 97.9 ESPN Radio is brought to you by Witten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass, and by Metro Deli in downtown Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I already had no desire to ever climb Mount Everest. But I sure as hell would be reluctant to do so after seeing some of the pictures of the overcrowded situation. You have a long queue of mountain climbers lying on a path on Mount Everest, about a half dozen climbers bumping into each other. Then you look back behind them. The photo you can see from the AP shows, 50 people perched precariously on the top of the summit there, unable to move because of poor weather. They were waiting for windows of good weather to allow them to move. And then you find out that they've issued too many permits. Nepal issued too many permits for the climb, and the people who have died, 11 so far, have done so because of overcrowding. Man, I got to imagine climbing Everest is a bitch. Just a guess. Not easy to do, or else everybody would. But I get to the top and I die because of overcrowding? No. That's how people get thrown from mountains.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Is that what overcrowding means? Is somebody just pushes somebody else off of the mountain?
No, they're dying because they get stuck up there and they can't move because there's somebody a quarter an inch in front of them and nobody can move. It's literally they're overcrowded. And they just sit up there until they die.
So they're freezing to death.
I'm sure it has something to do with the oxygen.
Okay.
As the allure of Everest grows, so have the crowds, with inexperienced climbers faltering on the narrow passageway to the peak, causing deadly delays. After 11 people died, Nepal tourism officials have no intention of restricting the number of permits issued, instead encouraging even more tourists and climbers to come for both the pleasure and fame, said Mohan Krishna Spakota, Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation there. Nepal, one of the world's poorest countries, relies on the climbing industry to bring in $300 million a year. $300 million a year. It doesn't cap the number of permits it issues or control the pace or timing of the expeditions, leaving that to tour operators and guides who take advantage of brief clear weather conditions whenever they can, leading to pileups near the top, near the peak. On May 22nd, a climber snapped a photo from a line with dozens of hikers in their winter gear that snaked into the sky. That's the one I'm looking at from the AP that you can find online right now. U.S. News, World Report, all that stuff has it. Climbers were crammed along a sharp-edged ridge above South Col with a 7,000-foot drop on either side, all clipped onto a single line of rope. So if Fred slips, we got a problem.
I have found said photo.
Trudging towards the top of the world and risking death as each minute ticks by. There were more people on Everest than there should be, said Kul Badar, General Secretary of the Nepal Mountaineering Association, an umbrella group of all expedition operators in Nepal. We lack the rules and regulations that say how many people can actually go up and win. The death toll this season, the highest since 2015. Most of those who died are believed to have suffered from altitude sickness, Tom.
There you go. Look at this. This is something. You're right. It is like a little single-file line.
It's ridiculous.
Up the side of a mountain.
Whoa, they're on the ridge. If you slip, if somebody falls to the left and we're all hooked on the same rope, that's it. I got to die because you're not any good?
Man, there never would have been a Rocky IV if Rocky had to do this before he fought Drago. Get these people out of the way.
Altitude sickness caused by low amounts of oxygen and high elevation, causing headaches, vomiting, shortness of breath, mental confusion. Imagine that moment. Keith over there, who you met from Australia, who's also, like you, dreamt of climbing Everest, starts to say delusional things when you're near the top.
Out of the fridge.
You're like, hey, Keith, there's no beer up here, man. What are you talking about? No, it's right over here. What are we doing?
Whoa!
Well, what are we doing, Keith? Keith, I'm going to have to kill you. I'm going to slice your neck.
No, Keith went to the fridge.
Keith's getting stabbed in the belly like it's prison.
He's now 3,000 feet below our feet.
Well, now we're going to die because the rope's about to yank. Here we go. That is not good. Mental confusion. I hear somebody rambling. Shanked. Double stick. Straight to the chest. Keith's dead. Altitude sickness, everybody.
Just made him bleed out of his chest.
It's crazy. Nepal requires climbers to have doctor's note deeming that they are physically fit, but do not prove their stamina at such extreme heights. Because of the altitude, climbers have just hours to reach the top before they are at risk of pulmonary edema. The lungs fill up with fluid. Oh, you suffocate. Jesus. From Camp 4 at 8,000 meters, that's 26,240 feet up, Tom, to the 8,850-meter mark, 29,035 feet at the top there at the peak. The final push on Everest is known as the Death Zone. We've entered into the Death Zone, everybody. Good news. We're near the top. It's the Death Zone. All right, give yourself, everybody, a round of applause for each other. You made it to the Death Zone. I've got some bad news. We're running a little slow today. Running a little slow. Appears there's too many of us right now. Just hang tight here in the Death Zone, and I'm sure everything will work itself out. Just need this group up in front to get moving, and then I'll signal to the rest of you to keep on pushing to 26,240 feet. The conditions are so intense at times that when a person dies, no one can afford to expend the energy to carry the body back down. They just lay there dead. Every minute counts here, said Eric Murphy, understatement of the year. He's on his third climb. He said what should have taken 12 hours took 17 hours because of struggling climbers. He's resentful. These sorry bitches. Look at him. You know, this is my third time.
He's going for the Platinum Bohica.
They became exhausted after 12 hours. And there was nobody there to help guide them. Just a handful of inexperienced climbers, he said. That has a profound effect. He's resentful. You can hear it. The death this year in Nepal's side of the mountain include Don Cash, a sales executive from Utah. Christopher Kolish, an attorney from Colorado. Both died on their way down from the peak. Oh, you make it? At least they made it. At least they made it.
They died with the knowledge.
That's right.
It's like LT. I got my $1 million.
I got it. Kolish had just reached the top with a small group after crowds of climbers congested the peak. He described his brother as an attorney who was one of the avid climbers that you have to be. They're all avid climbers if you get up there. Man, that would suck. This dude's 55 years old, collapsed at the summit. He ended up falling down half the cliff. They had to leave his body there to go find him later on. Cash said on his LinkedIn page that he left his job as a sales exec to join the Seven Summits Club. Big mistake. Shouldn't have done that, Cash. Would have stayed with the job you had as the sales exec. Or picked a different time. I'm leaving this job. Corporate America is not for me. What are you going to do? I think I'm going to join the Seven Summits Club. Do Everest. Okay. Thought this through, did you?
Nope. Not thinking anymore.
381 permits were issued in 44 teams, the highest number ever recorded. By the way, Nepal doesn't have regulations to determine how many permits should be issued, as noted in this story. But anyone with a doctor's note can obtain a permit for $11,000. So you're paying $11,000 to die because you're congested at the top of the summit. Or Keith Falls. No, thanks, man.
It's like you're paying 11 G's. It's for the equivalent of, out in California saying, oh, my back hurts. And like, oh, okay, here's a pound of weed. Except it's so scarce with what they give you in Nepal.
Man.
That, they could charge you out the wazoo.
We're going to have to better manage the flow of climbers here, dude. This is not getting it done. I'm unhappy. I'm stuck at the summit. And I paid $11,000, and I might die.
I like the idea of the climber who he knows he's going to die, but this is the way he wants to go out. This is his form of suicide. And it's just a piece of loose leaf paper, old school, and it's got the frayed edges, and it just says, doctor's note. Rich can climb.
Yeah.
And he hands it to him. They're like, accepted.
Accepted.
Is that your check?
We need the money.
Here's your permit.
So, Indian climber Amishi Kahan, soaking her frostbitten toes in medicine at a hospital in Kathmandu, described the agony of turning away from the peak when she realized her supplemental oxygen supply was getting dangerously low. 2 of her team members died. She returned and scaled the peak a week later. You talk about dedicated.
So, two of her climbing mates died, her teammates. I think our secondary oxygen may have an issue.
It's getting low. I'm going to leave.
I think they were using the secondary tanks. Might be a problem with those tanks.
If you look at it, quote, the inexperienced climbers do not even know how to tie on their oxygen masks. That according to
the 3-time guy?
Amisha.
Oh, okay.
Many climbers are just too focused on reaching the summit and don't know how to do basic things. You see, once again, this is something that should be regulated, obviously. I need to know you know how to put your mask on. Can't they do the thing they do in the airplanes? Stand up there, like, put this on, here you go.
What's Louis Anderson doing here? He doesn't seem qualified.
I can do it. That's terrible.
Let me go in peace.
I can do it. He would get 50 feet. All right, 50 feet down, Louis.
They had it.
We're getting to 29,035, so.
They had it.
Hang in there. 50 feet at a time, Louis.
This is hard.
I can't.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men on a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less. I know you know this, and you probably have already suggested it, and maybe she's already had it. But, Tom, I'm bringing your girlfriend into the fold to talk about Bumpa's Local 349.
Don't you bring her in here.
I'm telling you now that she would love the ahi salad.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
that was
delicious.
That was the first thing she ever tried, and now anytime we are in the neighborhood, which is, a capital circle right between I-10 and Centerville. Like
you're
right
giving
in
the people
there.
the location for Bumpa's Local 349.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I like it.
Yes.
They have delicious food. I like tacos. You can't screw up tacos, but they do really good tacos.
I am a big fan of the Uncle Sal because the Uncle Sal is sausage, peppers, and onions. You can't go wrong with that trio, man.
You like the peppers and onions more than I do.
It must be like a New York thing. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Everybody's a little bit Italian because they're coming from New York because the peppers and onions isn't exactly Irish
I like
cuisine.
It when they're cooked up like that.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
like
hard to beat. A little mustard? Yeah.
I'm forever going to champion the wings and the Cobb salad. It's Bumpa's Local 349. They got live music. They've got a number of televisions and, of course, tasty beverages, man. Good stuff.
Just like football, when it comes to the court of law, you're going to need a solid defense. I'm Michael D. Blank, attorney with the Law Office of Jose Fernandez in Tallahassee. At the Law Office of Jose Fernandez, there is never an upfront fee, and if we don't recover, then you don't pay anything. Our team is dedicated to handling all types of accident, injury, negligence, malpractice, and wrongful death cases. If you're unable to come to us, we can come to you day or night. Call us now, 855-HOSE-305, for your free consultation today. The Law Office of Jose Fernandez. We don't get paid until you do. Offices, Tallahassee, Miami. JRFinjury.com. Go Knowles.
Yuengling Golden Pilsner, a highly sessionable beer, golden in both name and color. Yuengling Golden Pilsner is the perfect balance of hop and malt character for crisp and smooth thirst-quenching refreshment. Cheer for your garnet and gold with Yuengling Golden Pilsner. Yuengling, brewing good times for 190 years. Must be 21 or older. Please drink responsibly. A message from local beverage distributor Triangle Sales.
I give to you easy laundry service from my friends at Wash Around the Clock. Oh, buddy, this is a game changer. If you're like me, your life is hectic. Between work, school, your kids' sporting events and activities, well, it leaves you precious little time to kick back and take a load off. About the last thing you want to do is hours of laundry, but there it sits, staring at you, taunting. No more. That's right. More watching, less washing. Save hours of valuable time when you sign up not doing laundry with easy laundry service from Wash Around the Clock. Whether it's dry cleaning or just plain laundry, Wash Around the Clock's easy laundry service will pick up and deliver at your home or office. So sign up for free today at easylaundry.net, or you can give them a call, 850-597-9007. Again, sign up today at easylaundry.net. Oh, and by the way, I got you. Use promo code JCS20 and save 20%. That's promo code JCS20. You're saving 20% on your first order. That's easylaundry.net from Wash Around the Clock.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. At this hour, the soap opera that is the Lakers apparently far messier than originally thought. Sources told ESPN's Baxter Holmes that under now former team president Magic Johnson and GM Rob Pelinka, the Lakers were filled with dysfunction both off and on the court and included managers who berated staffers and created an in-house culture that inspired fear. The only choice owner Jeannie Buss has now, let LeBron James run the show in L.A., believes ESPN's Jay Williams.
If I'm Jeannie Buss, I'm going and having a meeting with LeBron James and saying, I'm just giving you autonomy. I'm giving you the autonomy. I don't want anybody else to walk into any kind of free agent meeting room. I want it just to be you. I want you to tell Rob Pelinka what you feel like you need with this current team to help us get to where we want to go. I want LeBron to take on relations. It's more responsibility, but right now, I don't know if you have any other choice.
More on this developing story on SportsCenter at 6 Eastern. R.J. Hampton, the number 5 prospect in the class of 2019, told Get Up he's skipping college hoops and has signed a contract with the New Zealand Breakers of the Australian National Basketball League. Hampton currently projected as the number 6 pick in the ESPN 2020 mock NBA draft. Major League Baseball has placed Phillies outfielder Odubel Herrera on administrative leave following his arrest on a charge of simple assault following a domestic incident in Atlantic City with his girlfriend last night. MLB is investigating the matter. After a year out of the NFL, offensive lineman Richie Incognito has signed with the Raiders. Incognito, who turns 36 in July, could be a starter for Oakland. NHL, the Oilers named former Stars and Coyotes coach Dave Tippett as their new head coach. Soccer, Gennaro Gattuso out as AC Milan manager. He and the team mutually agreed on the move. AC Milan just missed out on qualification for the Champions League next season.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Test your audio, increase the bass response, hoping the speakers blow. I got no time to
It was sad news seeing Bill Buckner died after battling with dementia, Lewy body dementia. Passed away at the age of 69. It's pretty young these days. And, it's true. And I got a great email on this, and I'm going to read it in a second. I remember, okay, so everybody remembers 86. Everybody knows about the play. But I remember Buckner as a prolific hitter. I remember him as being wildly consistent. And some of the numbers associated with his career in the seasons in which he had fewer than 20 strikeouts in a year, it does not, it's amazing. It's a reminder. You see that the game has changed and evolved in a way in which there is no shame that is carried with a strikeout, or even 3 in a game, or 4 in a game, or 12 over 3 games. I mean, guys strike out on the regular, but you're talking about a different era in which Buckner played as he was 19 years old, 1969. He got called up to the bigs, and 22 seasons later, this is a guy whose career was Hall of Fame worthy. Won a National League batting title in 1980 for the Cubs, led the NL in doubles in 81 and 83. I don't know, maybe not Hall of Fame worthy, but close to it. Almost 3,000 hits. 2,700 plus hits.
I saw one stat that looked at the number of hits registered in the 70s and the 80s, and I think he finished in second.
He was behind Pete Rose. That's it.
By about 200 hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's in front of guys like Robin Yount.
Oh, it's nuts. He was a hitter. He was a prolific hitter. And he was dedicated to that mustache. And you got to give him that.
That was...
unwavering dedication to that mustache.
It's a street sweeper. That's what that looks like.
I mean, that
the
thing
broom
is...
of a street sweeper.
I'm keeping it, along with my ridiculous hair. I'm all in on this look. Unwavering. You got to give him credit for that. But the play he's known for is, of course, the 86 World Series, which... when you talk about sporting moments, this is really unfortunate for him because of sporting moments in my lifetime. This year you're born, and I've told you the story. I was at a birthday party.
It's the day I was born.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy.
I was like 20 hours old.
I was at a birthday party sneaking looks at the World Series. I'm in high school when that happened, and I can still remember the play. I can still remember everything about it. By the way, the game was tied when that happened. People forget that.
I need to remember that.
Yeah, the game was tied when that happened. But the point is, I can remember it as profoundly in terms of a singular play in my lifetime, the catch from Dwight Clark, San Francisco versus the Dallas Cowboys over Everson Walls. I hated the 49ers. I loved the Cowboys as a little kid, and I really hated that play. This particular play. And then I can remember, obviously, there are several that I associate with specifically Florida State, but I think just in national sports, those two really, along with NC State over Houston in the NCAA tournament, also Villanova over Georgetown. I remember, Ed Pickney laying on the ground, holding up his hands, yelling yes as they inbounded the ball, and Raleigh Massimino running around. I mean, these are the plays of my youth that I really, really remember. And then, of course, because of the era I grew up in, John McEnroe and some of the bigger tennis stars, some of the wars at Wimbledon. I can remember the 5-set matches against Borg. They stick out to me. And I think for an entire generation of people, that play registers as one of the 5 to 7 most iconic plays in sports history. That unfortunate set of circumstances where, John McNamara completely failed to do what a manager is tasked with doing, which is guard against the worst possible outcome and understanding scenarios that lead to them. You've got to have a situation where you replace him defensively. You had the ability to do so. His ankles at that point were absolutely shot. Dave Stapleton was ready. He usually took over in those situations on defense late in games.
Yeah.
He just didn't do it.
Well, no, and the crazy thing is, like, McNamara's defense was he wanted, obviously, Bill to be on the field to celebrate the highest achievement.
Oops.
Well, but the game's already tied at that point.
Yeah.
So even if you've made that mistake once, you made it a second time with the tie ball game that you're trying to get to extras now.
Yeah.
Which is just nuts.
No, the moment got too big.
Yes.
And there are a lot of things, and it's actually beautifully encapsulated here in the email that Dave sent us. Jeff, email, when I lived in Boston in the early 1990s, I enrolled in a 1-year broadcasting course and scored an internship at a national sports radio network based in Cambridge. It's long since gone out of business. As part of their programming, they had Bill Buckner host an hour-long call-in show on Friday nights, as he was still living in the area after retiring from baseball in 1990. I used the opportunity to interview him on a tape recorder for a school assignment. The tape is buried somewhere within my accumulated junk. And the one part of the interview that I clearly remember is when he admitted that because of his bad ankles, even if he had gloved that grounder from Mookie Wilson, there was no way he would have had the quickness to beat him to first base. And a toss for the pitcher was not an option since the pitcher was late in trying to cover first base. That is likely why Buckner took his eye off the ball, as he was more concerned with seeing how much time he had with a speedy runner coming down the line out of the left-hander's batter's box. A common misconception 33 years after the fact is that if Buckner had successfully made the play, it would have clinched the World Series for the Red Sox. But in reality, the score was already tied at 5 when Wilson came up to the plate at the bottom of the 10th inning. So at best, the game would have moved into the 11th. That infamous miscue also occurred in Game 6, not Game 7. There was still a winner-take-all game left to be played in Shea Stadium. And in that game, Boston held a 3-0 lead after 5 innings, only to see the Mets rally for an 8-5 win. It sucks that Buckner was the scapegoat for then Red Sox manager John McNamara's dumb decisions. Bench reserves Dave Stapleton was available to replace Buckner for defensive purposes late in Game 6, or the inability of Boston closers Bob Stanley, oh my God, what a bum he was, and Calvin Schiraldi, another bum, to protect a 2-run lead with 2 outs and nobody on. That's the part that people forget.
Base hit central at that point.
But that's both the beauty and the agony, the game of baseball. Yeah, good email, Dave, and it's true. Yeah, I have a family member, Aaron, who is a brother of mine that is air traffic controller up there in Boston, well, retired now, but lifelong Red Sox fan. He's always brought that point up, too. He always hated it for Buckner. And, one of the nicer moments in baseball, and baseball does a pretty good job of this, a little slow in coming around sometimes, but a lot of times these franchises will right a wrong, or they'll go back and look at the mistreatment of a player or a manager or it could be a bench coach or something like that, and they'll try to do the right thing many moons removed from the situation that caused the tragedy, if you will, relative to sport. And in 2008, the 4-minute standing ovation as Bill Buckner comes out from under the American flag, 4 minutes as he fights back tears and wipes away his cheeks with those tears before throwing out a perfect strike first pitch and then signaling strike as he did it. He said that was a healing moment. That was the moment that healed him from all of the years in which he was almost single-handedly blamed for them not having won that World Series at the end of the legendary curse,
TJ Quinn put out a good tweet relative to Bill Buckner experiences because he was a hitting coach for the White Sox, I think it was, when TJ Quinn was on a beat early in his journalistic career. And he made the trip from the South Side out to Boston, and it was one of Buckner's first returns to Fenway Park since his tenure was over with the Red Sox. And he said when they were walking in, there were a bunch of Boston fans there shouting for Bill Buckner, saying, we love you, can we get your autograph? And so he gives them the autograph, and he continues walking in, and then they start mimicking him, messing up the play. They were just
brutal.
They were toying with him. And he remembers him walking in there and thinking to himself as a reporter, man, what's that like to have to deal with idiots like this? And then the story went on to depict him and his son playing catch in the outfield at Fenway Park. And he was showing him the monster, and he was trying to maintain the innocence for his kid that he had brought along to a special place for himself in the 90s. This before the healing process was actually completed. But you can only imagine what was going on inside.
Yeah, I can't
like
imagine playing 22 years and being a really good player, an all-star caliber player annually, to have done and amassed all that he had, only to know that everywhere you go, with the second somebody recognizes you, you're just that guy. You're not the guy that, led Major League Baseball in hits in a particular season or any of those things. You're the guy that didn't make the play at first. And you know that it doesn't do you any good to lay out the reasons that, look, I was hobbled, my ankles, I couldn't get down to that ball. I should have made the play, I didn't make the play, but I did. It doesn't do you any good. You just got to wear that. And that's tough, man. And that's the fate of a situation like that. You long to be in a situation where you're playing for a championship. This is interesting. You and I were talking. I'm so glad David Ross ended up hitting the home run and they win the game and all that stuff. Remember, he was having a bad game. And so it worked out. And he's an icon now, but you ask that, as a child, when you're in the front yard with your dad or you're playing hoops in the driveway and you're counting it down, all the times you say, over to Cameron, 3, 2, he shoots. When the shot doesn't go in, you create some crazy scenario by which you were fouled and have to go to the free throw line or whatever it might be. But sometimes those dreams, they do happen, and you get into those situations, and you do miss that shot, and you are the GOAT, or you do make a boneheaded mistake like calling a timeout you don't have. And forever, Chris Webber had to deal with that when, in fact, you go back and watch that replay, his entire bench is telling him to call timeout. They're all dumbasses, It's just like poor Bartman, right? Everybody blames Bartman. Well, first of all, guys, let's try not to blow a tailor-made double play ball just before that happens.
Yeah.
Also, the 7 other dudes reaching for that ball.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I think most contemporaries, like adults who were watching baseball at that time, they all, like my dad would talk about that World Series a lot when I was a kid. And I remember when he popped in the VHS tape. It's a really cheesy, World Series montage tape that the Mets had put together and sent out to season ticket holders. But when he showed me that tape, he's like, here's your birthday and here's the da-da-da-da, here's what happened. He said, now, this is not his fault. It is the pitcher's fault. Like, he taught me from the very beginning.
The pitcher didn't get over
that guy's a good ball player. He made a mistake, but, this is ridiculous. You'll hear that he is, he's the biggest GOAT in history, and that's nuts because he was a great player his whole career. I think at the time he was still playing when I was little. He's a great player, and the game was already tied. The manager messed this up. I learned that from the word go. But when my dad would talk with his, my uncles or whoever, his friends, they all would say first that, well, Buckner was a hell of a ball player. That's what they always came back to that. And I wonder if social media existed, for this play in this moment. First of all, it'd be a meme and there'd be a GIF and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
But I think it would be consumed differently. I think Buckner would be more off the hook in this day and age because people would be so pissed off at the bullpen management. I think in those days, people might have looked only at the end result, but you'd be here for the process.
A more advanced way of viewing the outcomes of games in baseball and understanding how much is left to chance and how many decisions go into the waning moments that lead up to that. Yeah, managers today certainly can't get away with, I'm going on a hunch. That's called into question more often than not these days. And anybody that has a grasp of modern analytics and certainly understands percentages and odds will call into question a lot of decisions in a regular season game, much less a World Series game. Yeah, sure.
I think Buckner would be ridiculed like J.R. Smith was J.R. Smith was last year in the finals, right? I mean, that would be.
Yeah, you got to know the situation.
That would be a thing, but I think people would also realize that there was nobody on with 2 outs and 2 strikes.
Yeah, nobody on, 2 outs.
And the game was tied. So, you have the wild pitch. I think the Stanley and Giraldi stuff would have been immortalized by today's standards.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating because you juxtapose. Yeah, I get what you're saying, too, that the modern sports fan is a little bit more what they want to be. They're more educated because you access to information as to how
everybody
things
would be watching it. And the crescendo would have been when the game is tied. The crescendo wouldn't have been the Buckner era. They'd be like, oh, Jesus, that's the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was all leading to this moment. Right there, that had to happen. That poor bastard, he's been a great player. Look at him out there hobbling about. Yeah, I mean.
People would be shouting in real time, why is he out there? Why is he out there? Why is he out there?
Sure, especially the knowledgeable fans of the Boston Red Sox. you watch your team. I watch my team. Most people watch their team. They know the nuances of their team. They know who's coming off that bench, when, and why. They know that all season long, in certain situations, 1-run game, 2-run game, defensive replacements, this is who goes to second, this is who goes to left. We don't need his bat anymore. We need to get outs. And you know who those players are. You've watched all of that. You're like, oh, well, he's going to make a change here because that dude can't run, and we need somebody that can go. And, all of that stuff. So, yeah, I think you're right. And yet, it's weird because the littlest of things happen to shame and ruin people's faith in humanity with the modern meme, with Twitter,
yes.
The cesspool that is Twitter. With any of those things, you catch a person, maybe somebody out of shape trying to get themselves in shape, and they get taken a picture of and turned into a meme, and so everybody's afraid at all times, which is horrible. Everybody is afraid at all times, and that way it's the worst. It's now the mass distribution of misinformation. It's all these other things. But oddly, to your point, I think you're right. I think
Buckner would have been saved.
Buckner would have been the exception. I mean, he would have been saved. Not maybe in the moment. In the moment, that would have been on a loop on social media. That play, him going the ball.
But the legacy of that game would not have been Bill Buckner's mistake,
because it would have been vetted in the 24-hour news cycle. It would have been vetted on First Take and every other sports talk radio show and all that the next day, because a lot of people would have said, well, what was he doing out there?
Right.
What the hell?
You could even hear Kirchen. I don't understand. Why is he in the game?
I agree. Final hour, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men on a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Gordo smash.
Delicious. Sitting on the deck with a Gordo smash. That's a good day at the office.
Or put a Cuban in your mouth.
And other food. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Spilled your red wine? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills and messes quicker and is 2 times more absorbent than the leading Ordinary brand, so you can get back on track quicker. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Get your vehicle ready for Memorial Day weekend. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for specials on motor oil and filters, cleaning products, wiper blades, towing supplies, and more. The professional parts people can help you find just what you need to help keep your weekend safe and fun. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. Look around. That's right, you see Nissans everywhere. Tallahassee has officially become a Nissan town. Kraft Nissan Town. Why? Because Kraft Nissan has the best pricing, best selection, and the best buying experience in town. And at Kraft Nissan, you get the best value for your dollar with more standard features, our exclusive and the original lifetime warranty, our easy choice menu that gives you a price and payment in writing, our New For You program that helps people with damaged credit, and every new 2018 Nissan we sell has available 0% interest for 60 months, plus $1,000 over Kelley Blue Book for your trade. Best of all, my people are the best in the business. They'll greet you with a smile and a handshake, and they know your time is valuable. My managers are always accessible, and of course, you can always ask for me or my brother Peter. Bottom line, if you need a new or pre-owned car, you need to experience the Kraft difference. Great people, great product, great price, with the best car buying experience in town. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag on your car, you paid too much, way too much.
Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Weesey. At this hour, the soap opera that is the Lakers apparently far messier than originally thought. Sources told ESPN's Baxter Holmes that under now former team president Magic Johnson and GM Rob Pelinka, the Lakers were filled with dysfunction both off and on the court and included managers who berated staffers and created an in-house culture that inspired fear. The only choice owner Jeannie Buss has now, let LeBron James run the show in L.A., believes ESPN's Jay Williams.
If I'm Jeannie Buss, I'm going and having a meeting with LeBron James and saying, I'm just giving you autonomy. I'm giving you the autonomy. I don't want anybody else to walk into any kind of free agent meeting room. I want it just to be you. I want you to tell Rob Pelinka what you feel like you need with this current team to help us get to where we want to go. I want LeBron to take on relations. It's more responsibility, but right now, I don't know if you have any other choice.
More on this developing story on SportsCenter at 6 Eastern. R.J. Hampton, the number 5 prospect in the class of 2019, told Get Up he's skipping college hoops and has signed a contract with the New Zealand Breakers of the Australian National Basketball League. Hampton currently projected as the number 6 pick in the ESPN 2020 mock NBA draft. Major League Baseball has placed Phillies outfielder Odubel Herrera on administrative leave following his arrest on a charge of simple assault following a domestic incident in Atlantic City with his girlfriend last night. MLB is investigating the matter. After a year out of the NFL, offensive lineman Richie Incognito has signed with the Raiders. Incognito, who turns 36 in July, could be a starter for Oakland. NHL, the Oilers named former Stars and Coyotes coach Dave Tippett as their new head coach. Soccer, Gennaro Gattuso out as AC Milan manager. He and the team mutually agreed on the move. AC Milan just missed out on qualification for the Champions League next season.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
The Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. A fine lawn maintenance Tuesday to you and yours. Hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. And I know that yesterday many of you probably thought, I can't go outside. It got ugly. It got ugly yesterday. I'm holding my breath. This too shall pass. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything if you do. Remember, we post all 3 hours where you can rate and review there on iTunes for us. We also post it on the website, ESPNTallahassee.com. You can email us too, jcs at 979 ESPNradio.com. We're on YouTube. Hello, YouTubers. Hello, Periscopers. And the WTSM app works for your mobile devices, so that's a good thing. You know how we know that there's been a bit of a shift here in that we pay close attention, not just a little attention, but close attention to the softball team. When I was out of town this weekend, I went to there was a beach bar, but then also in the hotel where not a hotel, we rented a place, but near there where there was a hotel beach bar and another place. And we'd go down over there by the pool and hang out some. Every place I looked had that game on, which I was happy about and sat there and watched that game. But I was stunned that they lost. Like, even after they lost game 1, I was like, no big deal. We'll come back and win tomorrow. And we did. And I was like, well, we got this. We're too good. We're going to come back and win this. And you're just left sitting there going, no way, 3-2? We scored 2 runs? It's just they've become so good and so consistent that you just don't believe. And we pay attention to how well they play and how hard they hit the baseball. Obviously, you look at the power numbers, you just figure somebody's going to have to score 5 and 6 runs most days. Mm-hmm. So you chalk up that first one as an anomaly, but it can't happen again. They're not going to hold us back again. And, wow.
Well, even the 4 runs in game 2, there's some close pitches that we benefited from in order to get that big inning.
Yeah.
But their pitcher was really good. After the first 4 or 5 innings of game 1, she figured us out. She ran out of steam a little bit, though, obviously, in game 3. It was hot. It was hot on that field.
Oh, yeah.
And you pitch in 3 days in a row. But I think even though we do hit a home run in the 9th to get it to 3-2, I think it was the Gordon at bat where she laces it, and it's a liner right at the third baseman.
Yeah, it breaks your heart.
That's the one. If that's fair, I think we go on to win the game. We may win it by 1 or 2. But even though we do make a rally and we can, the tying run is at the plate by definition in the 7th inning. That was the moment that I think we lost the Tallahassee Super Regional. But hats off to them because it's quite a 2-year run that they've had.
It's unbelievable, and yet that's what I mean. I mean, we had to commit 4 errors. That rubs you the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about moments, fair, foul, right at somebody, things like that. That box score, I don't know if you guys read that story on Seminoles.com, but you got 3 games in which 23 innings are played. We finished with the same number of runs as Oklahoma State, the exact same number of hits as Oklahoma State, 7, 14, 14, respectively, and comparable strikeout numbers, high teens and 20s. It's crazy. Everything about the game is pretty well even, and you're just on the wrong side of the line.
Right. If you look at defensively speaking, that's where if you're trying to find a detail.
It's the most errors they've made in a game this year.
Yes.
That's heartbreaking.
And,
bad timing.
Bad timing, and she'll be back next year, and she was a big part of what we did last year for the championship. But catcher, we had a little bit of rough go for the last couple of weeks at catcher.
No, it sucks. It's and you hate it because no doubt she feels terrible.
Right. Well, and then you've got an asinine throw and a double. I mean, there's no way you're doubling off somebody early in that game.
No.
It's all right.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
it's a really good club. They represent the university in a great way, and they're really talented. And it's just
no. Listen, you don't have to make apologies for them. They are all of those things you just said. True. I think the point I was making is the testament to how good they are is that I'm stunned when they lose. Just stunned. Even when you're playing an elite team that's really well coached and they have great pitching and it's the thinnest of margins for error and all of that, I'm still stunned we're on the wrong side of the ledger there. With all that happened, just because they've been that good, that consistent, that tough. Think about all the comebacks. Think about all the big moments that they've had to find ways. I kept waiting for them to find a way. I thought they'll find a way. They'll find right up to the last out. They'll find a way. Couldn't find a way. Happens. But by the way, I don't know why this happens. But so I'm looking at the crawl later on that evening, and ESPN's crawl is Florida State becomes first reigning national champion to not make it back to the College World Series since, and I'm waiting for this embarrassing stat 2 years ago.
Right, yeah.
Get the hell out of here with that stat. That's not a stat. That's nothing. It happens frequently, apparently. Like, if you got to go back 2 years to find the last time it happened, it means it happens. I mean, what are we doing?
I think it's happened 3 times this decade, and then you have to go back a little bit. But yeah, it's
what happens.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's not like I mean, if it was 25 years or something, you might want to use that stat. It's not. It happened 2 years ago.
It's a good team. Oklahoma State's a good team. We were a good team. You just needed a couple more details to go your way.
So the other big story also includes a diamond, and it was one that I thought would happen, Florida State reaching the NCAA tournament for the 42nd consecutive time, and it certainly they were aided with a big win over NC State. I'm not of the mindset that would have been the be-all, end-all, that if they had lost that game, they wouldn't have been in. I know when they flashed that Florida State was one of the last 4 in, the immediate conclusion from a lot of people was, well, if they hadn't won that game, they weren't going to get in. I don't know that you can make that leap. I think certainly it was always going to be on the edge. It was always going to look like Florida State needed something. They certainly did themselves a favor. I still think, given the set of circumstances, given the winning record in the conference, they would have been in. Glad we didn't have to have the debate. Glad we weren't left to be wondering aloud how this could happen. They're in safely, and off to Athens they go. And, look, it's a regional in which, it's close by. A lot of our fans, I think, will make the trip. Athens is a fun college town. That's a good Georgia team as the host school, number 1. They've been a great team all year long. They're the number 4 national seed. Florida Atlantic is there. Mercer is there. But I'll be honest with you, I think Florida State has a shot to win the regional. Now, do I say that because I think they're good? No. And I'm not trying to disrespect Georgia, but Georgia's been pretty average offensively, really good from a pitching standpoint. But this just feels like an upset in the making. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It's odd. We can score runs. We struggle in most areas of the game of baseball these days. but I will tell you.
That's quite the statement.
We do. But
struggle in many areas in the game of baseball.
Vital to success in the game of baseball. We struggle in many areas. But I don't know why. I've just got a weird – maybe it's just a gut feeling. I'm going to go by the old Matt Millar gut feeling. They're going to go for a ride. I think they're going to do something here.
Really? Well,
it's my gut feeling.
That has to be from in front, though. I mean, you got to go 2-0 in order to go on a run. I don't know that we have the capability to fall behind the 8 ball here.
Yeah.
And then climb our way out of it having to beat the same team twice on a Sunday night and into a Monday. That's a lot to ask.
Some of my gut feeling, if we're going to be real honest in the moment here, is that I'm skipping the Athens regional because I want to save for the Baton Rouge regional. Mm-hmm. It's like you go to the company and you say, I'm going to want to cover this. Well, if it's Florida State versus Boise State, they fit the bill in football. If it's Florida State versus Clemson or something like that, they get it. You got to be there. Down to Miami. Oh, we got you. Go ahead, submit for payment. Sub-regional for a 3 seed that's not any good, that I haven't really talked up this year, they're going to be like, yeah, man, well, we're not covering that one. But they'd cover Baton Rouge for the right to go to the College World Series, right? So there it is. So you got to save your bullets, Tom. Got to save your bullets, baby.
The whole thing. I don't care how it gets done. It could be 16-15. It could be 1-0.
Yeah.
If you can win your first game and you give CJ the ball with a chance to play for the right to sit and watch on Sunday afternoon from the winner's bracket, 2-0, baby. Okay, that's all I ask for. Just win that first game and give the ball to CJ for game 2. Let's do it.
I'm looking back at the remarkable consistency with which Florida State has hosted these things. We see, we seem to be a fish out of water here. It's so shocking to watch us get sent off and know there is no game going to be played here. We are taking it on down the line, man. So I all at once kind of embrace this because they've got to be I don't know how you can get a gauge, but my guess would be that they're somewhat footloose and fancy-free. They don't have a lot at stake. Now, you could counter that argument and say, well, if they lose 2 games, the old man's done, and it lays at their feet. Well, I suppose. I mean, if they don't win the whole thing, then they don't reach their goal, and that would be disappointing. But, I mean, that's not what – I don't think kids think like that. I hope they're not thinking that way. Not a lot is expected of them in this regional. If they were watching the coverage, they know that they, quote-unquote, barely got in. They're a 3 seed in that regional. 4 seeds are left for the small schools anyhow, so really that's about the worst you could do.
Yeah, but I think the good thing about what they did on Friday was they proved to themselves in a game they had to have that they can come out roses.
Beat that ass.
Right, exactly. And so we talked about it a lot in college basketball before you get to the tournament. If you're playing for your tournament life in conference season, before you get to the conference tournament, and you've got to win 2 out of 3, and 2 of them are on the road, well, then you've gone to a place mentally before everybody else has. And I know it's only one game, but they had to sit in North Carolina for 2 full days, plus most of Friday, knowing that this NC State game could make or break their chances to continue on and play in a regional. That's a lot of pressure to deal with for a long time, especially coming off the heels of a season when you're dealing with the pressure of the final season of Mike Martin's career here at Florida State. So you've dealt with a lot of stuff, a lot of baggage. Now you can just go play baseball in somebody else's stadium and ruin their party.
They're just the weirdest bunch, though, man. I've had cause to dislike this team, and I don't mean personally. I just mean as a group. Games that they've had to had or they needed to make their presence felt and show up huge. They haven't. They've played poorly in those moments. They've looked silly at times. And then other times when you're ready to wash your hands of them and say, I'm done, they've come out and won games that kind of cause you to raise an eyebrow and reinvest. They're just wildly inconsistent. And that goes back to the thing I said earlier. They're not real good at pretty critical things in the game of baseball that would allow for consistency. They have their moments. Certainly they are patient at the plate. Strike out looking more than I'd like to see. Strike out period more than I'd like to see. But they do get on base, and they do put pressure on young kids in college baseball. I think that if you can do that, obviously you set yourself up for big innings. They have those moments where they have the big inning because of it.
I just feel like it's boom or bust. That's
saying, who they are.
I'm not saying 0-2 and Q and then they go perfectly into super regional play, offensive output wise. It feels like it's going to be a lot or it's not going to be anything at all. And hopefully we can play from in front as we get through game 1. But that's it. I know it's a noon on a Friday. It's not a sexy time, but I'm going to be locked in and just
Florida Atlantic noon on Friday.
Bated breath, chewing on the fingernails, all that kind of stuff. Because if you get that one, then you have a legitimate chance. But you've got to get over that hurdle because if you lose game 1, man, I don't know that we're making it past Saturday.
All I'll say is, and note here is that it's much easier to watch these games when you don't have much in the way of expectations. And I don't do that to fool myself. A lot of people like to kind of rely on failures of yesteryear to convince themselves that something will happen or that will affect today's game. It doesn't. The failures of the 2003 team do not affect this year's team. We, as Florida State baseball fans, seem to carry the weight of those unfortunate events around with us from year to year. But they have no real effect on this team or any other for that matter, just that team that lost. And so this team tells me with a number of data points, they're not very good. I shouldn't have high expectations. I don't. But that's when surprises happen.
And yet you have expectations.
I have a good feeling that they're going to win. If they don't, I won't be shocked because they're not a prohibitive favorite where they have something to lose. I know that sounds strange, but I don't really view it that way. I don't know if they do. But when you've been as inconsistent as they are and when you've been as frankly average by our standards.
Oh, we're below our standards.
Yeah,
by a lot.
When you're below our standards, when you play with that level of inconsistency and you reveal that you can be pretty bad at times, then, the bar is lowered. I just don't expect. Now, I think there's always more pressure when you dominate it. The pressure's with Georgia. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't come through. They're at home. They have advantages. They're comfortable. They're in their own backyard. They're a number 4 national seed. They can pitch. They probably feel great. But the pressure's on them.
It's just such a backwards feeling because if the rules are the same as they always have been, let's just say we get the win on Friday afternoon and Georgia wins in the nightcap, we'd be the home team on Saturday night.
Yeah. Let's get that win, baby.
We're batting in the bottom half.
Let's get that.
We can listen to Georgia fans bitch and moan about that like we've been doing for the better part of 30 years.
Ridiculous. Why do we have to do this? Yeah, it's great. So we have that to look forward to, and I'm just glad that, man, at one stretch this year in the middle of the season, we were kind of like, man, I don't know. They're going to get there? Well, they're there. Exhale. They're there. Go have fun. Maybe you win. Maybe then we're all headed to Baton Rouge, and it gets A lot of fun there. There's a lot of good times to be had in Baton Rouge.
I saw this went mini viral. So you got to win 3 to get to the Supers, and then you got to win 2. So that puts you at 6, and then you got to win
Get
another
to 40 wins.
Well, you could, but if you were to just, win from now until the whole season's over, the whole damn thing, you'd have won 11 games in a row for a national title.
Oh, here we go. Thus begins the 11-game win streak, a stretch to glory.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
The finals are upon us. If you're wondering, the Raptors currently pay at plus 250. The Warriors are minus 300 to win the NBA Finals. That's I like Toronto, but I'm picking Golden State, obviously, and this is tough to find value in these wagers on this particular. I didn't bring that up to go on an expansive NBA talk. We can do that more tomorrow or Thursday. But rather, just so you know, there's where our numbers are. And in the midst of that, while looking up some other things, I did come across some of the highlighted games for college football, which, by the way, we're not that far out. They hang tough.
2 digits, right? Even to Florida State football.
Yeah, we're there now. We're at 80-something days. Okay.
Yeah, to that Florida-Miami game. That's like this weekend.
Yeah, it's coming up, buddy. You better get ready. But what I did find out while I was doing that, thanks to Todd Furman, who does a good job with this, and he grabbed something off of Dave Mason Bet Online. I got a lot of lines, including some FSU lines, which we already knew about one, but Florida State is a 4.5-point favorite over Boise State. You giving 4.5?
Oh, man, I'm clicking the pen, and I'm saying no. Not that I'm picking Boise State outright, but you're going to give me more than a score against
more
anybody?
Than a field goal? Yeah, more than a field goal. Yeah,
well, more than a field goal, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Against
FSU,
anybody with a pulse.
FSU's favored over Miami. That line is out, too. FSU -1, basically a pick 'em.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, you have more faith we're going to win that game than you do the Boise State game.
It's a point though. It's it's essentially a pick 'em. That's about fair. But is Boise really that bad? Because I got tripped up. Maybe it's just this one website didn't account for it correctly. But remember when you did over under total wins for a lot of teams in college football, Boise was sitting at 10.5.
That was nuts though.
And I'm saying if Boise's a double-digit win team, then I don't think we should be favored just blindly going into the season.
Well, I laugh because all this does is serve to cause drool, right? This is a wet the whistle sort of thing. When they start laying these lines out there, it makes it real. It suddenly becomes real to you that, we're in the midst of summer and it's brutal and it's not even June, although this month has flown past. And if June does the same, then my goodness, we really will be on the doorstep of talking football for real, not just a bunch of, let me give you a scenario. And if that happens, those hypotheticals are fun, and they're fillers sometimes, and it kind of allows you to get a gauge on where your enthusiasm is at, what your expectations are. I do that with people that I run into out and about. That I was I took the family to the beach this weekend, and I was playing Pro Kadima, Tom, a little paddleball action, paddleball action. And
Pro Kadima.
Pro Kadima. That's the name of the paddles with the ball, and you just beat the bejesus out of it. Anyhow, it's a lot of fun.
Sounds like something that could give you liver failure.
Yeah, I was getting after some Pro Kadima this weekend. Oh no! So anyway, we were doing that, and this guy, I was wearing an FSU shirt, and as I was just a T-shirt, and I looked over, and he and his wife were sitting there sharing a beer, and they were watching us. I was like, why do they care so much about
medium tank top?
I was like, why are they watching our Pro Kadima so fiercely? But then I think he was trying to figure it out because he recognized my voice. And then finally I looked over and she's wearing an FSU hat. And he goes, hey. And I knew, okay, gig's up. And I walked over and said hello. And we started chit-chatting. And it immediately turned to, what's the season going to look like? And invariably it does. And that's always flattering and really cool, especially when you're off in a place that's 4 hours away. But I'm sitting there talking to him.
I think that's a humble way of saying you were bothered.
I was not bothered. Because he kept it short and lighthearted.
There is a goalpost that you could kick through.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he did that. That's impressive.
He kicked through that goalpost.
Not many people have that deft touch.
They got to figure out, he's playing with his kid. Look, I'm a nobody. I'm a Tallahassee talk show host. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm LeBron James over here. But nonetheless, it's all relative. Yeah, you're playing with your kid on the beach. It's not the time you want to go through the depth chart. So the questions need to be pretty specific and, hey, good talking to you, that kind of thing. And that's what happened. And it actually turned into a really nice conversation. And we kind of talked back and forth a little bit about the season and his expectation. He's a pro-Willie guy. His wife wasn't. And we were kind of having that discussion. But it was level-headed and normal. It wasn't crazy. I didn't turn around thinking, well, she's wackadoo. I thought, okay, if that's fair, that's fair. She's a little frustrated because she was burned. She was all in.
Yep.
She was all
That's a lot
in,
of people.
And really
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, their feelings got hurt. They get caught up in their feelings. Feelings got hurt a little bit. You got to let's just see what happens this year. We left it on a good note, but the point was he was asking about the Boise State game, and he was talking about going to Jacksonville for said game. I was talking to my dad the other day about meeting us in Jacksonville and doing it up and having a good time. And so anyhow, we were kind of discussing the various games, and the question was, is Florida State favored? I said, yeah, the last I checked, Florida State was favored with the early lines. These are the most recent lines. Florida State -4.5, Florida State -1 against Miami. Now, there's a whole slew of other games, of course, and many of which are higher profile. See Auburn, Oregon, for example. Auburn is favored by 3 points in that game over Oregon. Clemson and Texas A&M, very big game. If you're wondering, go ahead and give me Texas A&M plus 15 there. Clemson is favored by 15, and that is absurd.
15?
I don't see it.
A&M returns a lot.
I'm stunned by that. Especially because if you look at the month of September and out-of-conference games, Power 5 games from Clemson against out-of-conference foes, they win a lot of those games, but they're all close. Even the one last year was close against Texas A&M. Remember they tried to screw around and make that interesting, and every tip pass was caught by A&M for a touchdown? It was nuts. But the point was...
Stood next to a guy who was rooting for Jimbo. Like, that's what he's rooting for, was for Jimbo. Not Texas A&M.
But just Jimbo.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the point would be here in that game, which was absurd, Clemson was the vastly superior team, but that game got close. And anyhow, long story short, if I remember reading correctly, not too long ago, they were documenting Clemson's out-of-conference wins against the likes of Georgia and Auburn and others. And there's been one blowout. I think they hammered Georgia one year, but another year that most of the years they were all really close games, relatively close games that they won. Remember, they played terribly against the national championship year, the first one, where they played terribly against Auburn. He coached. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, Gus was really ready to go that game. Those were two defenses that were just clubbing each other.
Yeah, and Clemson, remember, they made some terrible decisions. Dabo didn't.
It was
coach
clock
a good
management
game.
In the second half that put the game in peril.
Yes, and he screwed up. There was also a field goal that he didn't kick.
I remember that game.
Yeah.
I was out in Austin for Notre Dame, Texas that weekend, and that was the Sunday game. So Saturday night, everybody was watching that game. Everybody in the state.
It was weird. I mean, he was trying to lose the game.
What's
what
going
are you
on
doing,
here?
Dabo? Yeah. Some of the other big games as we look at these numbers that came out, LSU is favored by 3 over the aforementioned Texas Longhorns. Florida is favored by 7.5 over Miami, so more than a touchdown over the Canes. You've got Southern Cal -3 against Stanford. Oklahoma, who seemingly just plays UCLA all the time these days, -11.5 against UCLA.
So transitive property real quick. That means that Florida, what's a home line in college football worth? 3?
3.
Okay, so Florida this year in Gainesville should be about a 9.5-point favorite over Florida State.
Over Florida State.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, by the time we get to that game,
a
lot will have happened to reveal one way or the other about all of us. Georgia's favored by 10.5 over Notre Dame. Michigan's favored by 6 over Wisconsin. Ohio State -7 over Nebraska. Notre Dame -11.5 against Southern Cal. Michigan -7.5 against Notre Dame. There's a lot of different lines. Bama -17 versus LSU.
17
just hurts your soul.
Oh my God! If LSU scores 10, they're in business.
Yeah. Last year, that game went to the under by 0.5 point.
Did it really?
Yeah, I know that.
And there was no score. For a good reason or a bad reason?
No, good reason. Yeah.
Okay.
By 0.5 point. And I was like, what are we doing? It got weird in the second half. Like, what's going on? Stop this. Would you make a stop already? What are we doing? We've got this money in the bank. Yeah, that got froggy. Ohio State -9 versus Wisconsin. Georgia -9 against Auburn. Wow. Would you say that Georgia and Alabama are clear-cut favorites?
Yeah.
In the
Well, and Clemson.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just talking about title favorites, 15 over A&M. Jesus.
Yeah. Georgia over Florida in Jacksonville is only 4. Weird games over in Jayville. Yes. I would favor them by more than.
Yeah, the grocery bagger scored the touchdown a few years ago.
I would say that Georgia should be a 10-point favorite there. Ohio State -10 against Penn State, Matthews' team. Washington -7 versus Washington State. Why is Michigan favored over Ohio State?
That's not right.
It's -3, yeah.
Where can we get that action now? Please.
Yeah, I know.
That's the long-term investment in my portfolio. It's not a stock. It's not a bond. It's not an option. It's Michigan, Ohio State this upcoming November.
Bama minus 14 against Auburn. At Auburn. That's nuts.
Oh, man.
No, right? You're going to take Auburn plus 14, aren't you?
Are you factoring in that Auburn has an interim coach or something at that point?
I'm really surprised by that number. And also, when is Vegas? Well, I know they're setting the lines for a lot of different reasons, but when is Vegas going to learn that you cannot favor Michigan over Ohio State? I mean, what are we looking at here? After last year's debacle,
are they looking at that and saying that it's Gainesville Part 2 with what Urban's leaving behind? Because it sure doesn't look like it.
It didn't look like it, right? I mean, despite all of what was going on there, yeah, I know it's nuts. Anyhow, so you got some lines starting to trickle out now.
That's a lot to consider. Jeez, my head hurts in a good way.
By the way, series price in the Stanley Cup Finals, and this just makes me sick to my stomach. Obviously, Boston's up 1-0. Boston's going to win that series, and here you go. Once that happens, yes, they own the NFL Super Bowl, the NHL Stanley Cup,
oh God,
and the World Series.
Oh man, you
get talk of Titletown and it makes you cringe a little bit.
So as somebody who did the NHL bracket, the Stanley Cup bracket, my family does a little pool. The Western Conference, I got everything but one small detail in the first round correct. In the Eastern Conference, I got all of it wrong. But if you look at Tampa's path to the title, it was clear. It was so clear this year.
Yeah.
And
they got swept.
And now Boston, and when St. Louis is up 1-0 and 2-1 in that game, and they lose, I think that's it. Boston's going to win this probably in 5.
Yes, Boston's going to win it, and then Boston will own.
St. Louis had to front run here.
3 of the major titles simultaneously: the World Series, the Super Bowl, and of course the NHL Stanley Cup. You thought you were sick of Boston fans before?
Oh.
And there's no retort. There's no retort. You just have to doff the cap.
I sat next to a couple of Bostonians this weekend at Epcot, and we were listening to London Invasion as a cover band, playing all the greatest hits from British bands over the decades. Got some Duran Duran in there.
Okay.
And they were happy about all the titles, but they didn't even care about them. They were only focused on the Bruins. That's all that matters right now is what the Bruins are doing. Can you please stop and smell the bleeping roses?
Enjoy your titles. Tampa is sitting around, looking around, desperately
But we got to beat the Blues. See, the thing is, we got to beat. No, you don't. No, you really don't.
You don't. But
you don't have to beat anybody ever again. If you've been alive for this 10-year run in Boston sports history, 15-year run, please, you're done for a lifetime.
Well, when the Giants, San Francisco, won their second of 3 World Series titles in the odd years, my dad, who had waited his whole life to see the San Francisco Giants win a World Series title and is a lifelong Giants fan from the time they were the New York Giants in baseball and they moved.
He's a brutal Giants fan. He'll talk some noise now.
Oh, he loves the Giants. Loves them. It's weird.
Anytime he can take a dig at your team and it's
and he's not that way normally.
Right.
He stepped forward with the Giants.
I don't know what that's about. He's like, I see what your Mets are doing here. Unlike my Giants. Like, really?
He's just taking shots. Yeah. Well, he loves the Giants, always has. I don't really know why, but he does. He loves the Giants. So, and he's loyal. I mean, when they were asked sorry forever today, he was still right there with them.
I would just never think to insult the Giants. He's like, okay, it's scorched earth with him.
Yeah, he comes
National
in
League
with the
can
Giants.
Suck it.
But what's funny is that when they won that second one, I remember him telling me, I never thought I'd get to see him win one. We're good now. I want him to win more, of course, but we're good. I have the sense, I got to believe Red Sox fans, right? Are we not in the same boat here? I mean, how many do you need?
Well, Red Sox fans or Patriots fans?
Either.
Right.
I mean, they just keep rolling. I mean, Patriots fans can never say another word. If you go the rest of your life and never see them finish above 500, if you're 30 years old or above and you never see them go 500 or better again, don't want to hear it. You're sitting on 6 or whatever it is. I mean, get the hell out of here.
Only one cup, though, in that time. Only one cup.
It's just crazy. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Very exciting win as the Braves came from behind to beat the Cardinals 4-3. It was this big base hit for the Braves that tied things up in the ninth, and it came from the bat of Ozzie Albies.
Second and third, one out. 3-2 pitch. Line drive right field. That's going to fall. Base hit. Markakis is in. Riley will be held at third base. They've got Albies in a rundown between first and second. Running him back towards second base. Riley edging away at third. Tag is made. Riley holds. The game is tied at 3. But a base running mistake by Albies cost the Braves a big out.
That made it a 3-3 affair. Braves picked up one more in the 10th inning and beat the Cardinals by a final score of 4-3. And altogether, they went 5-2 on that road trip. Now the Braves are home for 5, and they see the Washington Nationals for the very first time of the year. They take on the Nats tonight at 7:20 Eastern, 6:20 Central. Lefty Max Fried goes for the Braves, and he takes on right-hander Steven Strasburg. And, of course, we'll have all that action right here on the Braves Radio Network. I'm Ben Ingram, and this has been your Atlanta Braves Radio Network update.
Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey sponsors Braves baseball so that all of you can enjoy the action. Ever since the days of Hank Aaron and Dale Murphy, we've been Tallahassee's home run hitting law firm. And because we don't get paid unless we win, we want to win every case as much as Chipper Jones wanted to win every game. So when you're injured, don't just trust any law firm to handle your case. Make the call to the bullpen for a trusted closer. To see our stats on the back of our baseball card, visit wrongfullyinjured.com. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Personal injury law is all we do.
The playoffs are here. The Corner Pocket is your home all spring long for all the heart-pounding moments in the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's held in a shot.
The Corner Pocket on Appalachian Parkway next to Earth Fair is your headquarters for FSU and Major League Baseball. Trivia Tuesdays, beer bingo Thursdays, and of course, all the moments you'll never forget.
For the championship!
The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Yuengling Golden Pilsner, a highly sessionable beer, golden in both name and color. Yuengling Golden Pilsner is the perfect balance of hop and malt character for crisp and smooth thirst-quenching refreshment. Cheer for your garnet and gold with Yuengling Golden Pilsner. Yuengling, brewing good times for 190 years. Must be 21 or older. Please drink responsibly. A message from local beverage distributor Triangle Sales.
This morning you were in a rush and accidentally shaved too much. You bushwhacked your facial hair. Kinda looks like you were mauled by a bear. Now in the mirror you see a mutton chop hybrid goatee. It's who you are now. When your morning is hell, just go to Taco Bell.
And try the $1 grilled breakfast burrito with fluffy eggs and crispy bacon wrapped in a warm tortilla. Only at Taco Bell. At participating stores for limited time during breakfast hours. Prices may vary. Tax extra.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachian Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Just like football, when it comes to the court of law, you're going to need a solid defense. I'm Michael D. Blank, attorney with the Law Office of Jose Fernandez in Tallahassee. At the Law Office of Jose Fernandez, there is never an upfront fee, and if we don't recover, then you don't pay anything. Our team is dedicated to handling all types of accident, injury, negligence, malpractice, and wrongful death cases. If you're unable to come to us, we can come to you day or night. Call us now, 855-HOSE-305, for your free consultation today. The Law Office of Jose Fernandez. We don't get paid until you do. Offices, Tallahassee, Miami. autonomy. JRFinjury.com. Go Noles.
Thursdays are Friday Eve, and that's a reason to celebrate. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered every Thursday down in College Town. Centrale offers 50% off select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Or you can stop by Township for Taco Thursday. $2 house tacos, $2. Madison Social offers the Social Agreement. You and a buddy can split one order of wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof Madison Socials, all for just $40. See what they did there? And don't worry about parking. Plenty of spaces available in the parking deck or surrounding lots. Check out all the Thursday College Town deals right now on ThursdaysInCollegetown.com.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Weesey. At this hour, the soap opera that is the Lakers apparently far messier than originally thought. Sources told ESPN's Baxter Holmes that under now former team president Magic Johnson and GM Rob Pelinka, the Lakers were filled with dysfunction both off and on the court and included managers who berated staffers and created an in-house culture that inspired fear. The only choice owner Jeannie Buss has now, let LeBron James run the show in L.A., believes ESPN's Jay Williams.
If I'm Jeannie Buss, I'm going and having a meeting with LeBron James and saying, I'm just giving you autonomy. I'm giving you the autonomy. I don't want anybody else to walk into any kind of free agent meeting room. I want it just to be you. I want you to tell Rob Pelinka what you feel like you need with this current team to help us get to where we want to go. I want LeBron to take on relations. It's more responsibility, but right now, I don't know if you have any other choice.
More on this developing story on SportsCenter at 6 Eastern. R.J. Hampton, the number 5 prospect in the class of 2019, told Get Up he's skipping college hoops and has signed a contract with the New Zealand Breakers of the Australian National Basketball League. Hampton currently projected as the number 6 pick in the ESPN 2020 mock NBA draft. Major League Baseball has placed Phillies outfielder Odubel Herrera on administrative leave following his arrest on a charge of simple assault following a domestic incident in Atlantic City with his girlfriend last night. MLB is investigating the matter. After a year out of the NFL, offensive lineman Richie Incognito has signed with the Raiders. Incognito, who turns 36 in July, could be a starter for Oakland. NHL, the Oilers named former Stars and Coyotes coach Dave Tippett as their new head coach. Soccer, Gennaro Gattuso out as AC Milan manager. He and the team mutually agreed on the move. AC Milan just missed out on qualification for the Champions League next season.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Moments can be mine.
All right, nice. Baseball tonight. Man, I got to say, as we did earlier in the show, before we hit probables here, I know it sounds unlikely, but I kind of think it's going to be interesting. Georgia doesn't have a dominant offense. They dominate with pitching. In that Athens regional, we're not any good, but we could win that regional. That's not the end of the world.
No, I think the key is like it is. I mean, this is like get off to a good start. Yeah, I get that. It's a lot of sports that'd be pretty good.
Good idea.
But if you win on Friday with Parrish pitching, CJ's been
pitching. Yeah, he's been real good.
He's been good, man.
Yeah. So I would laugh. It wouldn't shock me. Nothing does in baseball for the most part. That sport lends itself to oddities all the time. And I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Look, Georgia's been one of the best teams in college baseball this year. They've been a top 10 team. They've had a great season. They dominated the SEC. Their RPI is really good. So they, if you look at the totality of their season, they've been a much better team than Florida State. But it's a regional. You just gotta win the weekend.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you can start out 1-0 and let CJ do what he does, then you've got the opportunity, the margin for error, to hopefully let the bats get you through it with the one win you need.
I had some people email me yesterday and over the weekend about how close Florida State came to not making it, and the streak was in peril, and I just stopped buying it. I mean, I know what the RPI says, and I know that it looks like the victory over NC State proved to be the one game that pushed us over the edge, but I don't think that's true. I think we would have been the last team in. Regardless, we would have gotten in. 17-13 in conference was all I needed to see. We're in. Said you have a legend at the end of a career. It wasn't like they were 500 or something like that. They weren't a good team, but they certainly weren't terrible. They had a winning record and a real good conference. They were getting in. Now, it didn't hurt that they won that game going away and gave themselves some real momentum.
That helped.
I don't disagree with
that.
that.
Get your RPI right around 50. Yeah,
that makes it easier for the committee to do it. That just rubber stamped it. There may have been some objections in the room behind the scenes had they lost that game. Somebody might have gone, I don't know, fellas. I mean, I can make a strong argument for Team A, Team B, and somebody would have had to say, stand down, Lance.
Right, exactly.
We're letting the old man in.
I want somebody in this room to say it.
Yeah.
Somebody say it.
Yeah.
Because if we're picking the best teams.
Yeah, stand down, dude.
Thank you for saying it.
Yeah.
Florida State is in. I passed.
There it is. That's it. Yeah. But we won that game and made it easy. Then that guy who wanted to cause the problem, the uproar, upheaval in the back room had to go, damn it.
That's a good win. It's a good win
for
Florida State.
Good win. Real good win. All right, let's do probables. Here we go.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
I wish the Yankees would stop winning games with half their roster on the injured list. Damn it, man. Padres, Yankees. Yankee Stadium. I watched 3 jokes for home runs leave that yard yesterday. Gary Sanchez hit a ball off the end of the bat to that Oppo power alley there to righties. You're like, man, that's not to the track at a real ball field. That doesn't even reach the warning track at a real baseball field. That poor right fielder's like, oh, really? That's going to leave the yard?
He's standing there for 30 seconds.
He's like, that's going to leave the yard.
Nothing I can do.
This clown show of a ballpark is going to mean that Gary Sanchez has 16 home runs.
I should just bring some stairs with me so I could climb up into the stands, get back to the 12th row, stand there, and still wait 10 seconds to catch the ball.
The best reactions in baseball are opposing pitchers in that ballpark. Watch them give up a home run on balls that in their own ballpark are like barely out of the infield.
The greatest tradition in all of baseball.
Man.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, 312-foot pop-ups for home runs. Great tradition.
Eric Lauer goes for the Padres. Masahiro Tanaka, who's been really good, goes for the Yankees. The Pirates and the Reds play. Jordan Lyles will go for the Buccos. Pleasant surprise this year at 5-1 with a 2.81. Lucas Sims goes for the Reds. He's being recalled from AAA Louisville to make the start. 9 games this season for Louisville. He's 3-0 with a 4.06. See what he does in the bigs. Cardinals, Phillies. Adam Wainwright is not really good. Now, Nick Pavetta's pitching for the Phillies. I'd really like to take the Phillies. Have you looked at the hard hit ball rate there of Adam Wainwright? Everybody hits the ball hard against Adam Wainwright.
So do the Phillies just play like Central teams? Is that what's going on here?
Does it feel that way to you?
Yes. I feel like you root against the Phillies with your division rival going head-to-head with them for the past 3 weeks.
Nick Pivetta pitched well for the Iron Pigs, AAA Lehigh Valley, before getting called up, and I just wanted to say that because I like knowing that they're the Iron Pigs.
That has to be an awesome logo, right?
And Matthew, that's a hat you need to be wearing on the regular, sir. What are we doing? Pivetta was good with the Iron Pigs, not the Phillies. Prior to going to the Iron Pigs, he was terrible for the Phillies this year. We'll see what he does. Did you find it?
One of their slogans is Oink On.
It's good stuff. Tigers, Orioles. Matthew Boyd goes for the Tigers. Dylan Bundy going to go for the Orioles. Blue Jays, Rays. We got Clayton Richard, Ryan Stanek going for the Rays. Rays are 32-19.
They have a bacon hat.
Oh, I mean, the fun you can have with the Iron Pigs, absolutely. Giants, Marlins. Jeff Samardzija is having a good season. Going for the Giants and Marlins. Man, good on you. Good on you, Marlins. At one point, had they won 7 out of 8? What are we doing in Miami? Indians, Red Sox, Zach Plesac and David Price.
Leave it to the Mets to kick the Marlins in the butt.
I'm going to guess that Zach Plesac is the son of Dan Plesac.
Probably.
Making his Major League debut tonight. Nationals, Braves, Steven Strasburg, Max Fried. Brewers, Twins, Zach Davies, Devin Smeltzer. He's making his big league debut. There's a lot of big league debuts. Royals, White Sox, Brad Keller goes for Kansas City. The White Sox will throw Lucas Giolito. We got the Cubs and the Astros. Good game. Jonathan Lester. Corbin Martin, let's go. D-backs, Rockies, Merrill Kelly, and Antonio Senzatella. More baseball tonight. Angels, Athletics, TBD for the Angels. Frankie Montas going for the A's. Mets, Dodgers. Did you watch your bullpen last night? My God.
Well, okay, talk about the little things working against you, right? The Los Angeles Dodgers lead the National League with 61 defensive runs saved. The Mets,
they're a good team.
Dead last with negative 42.
Well, a 6-run inning is going to hurt your feelings when you're up 3-2.
Yes. I didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was so damn tired. I was like, all right. Once it was 2-1 Dodgers, I'm like, well, we're not scoring 3 tonight. So.
Well, you got to 3, and then
after they got to 6, though, it's easier at that point. There's no pressure.
Mets, Dodgers, Steven Matz, Rich Hill. Rangers, Mariners, Jesse Chavez, Marco Gonzalez, and finally the Royals and the White Sox from a suspended game. They're going to make that up after their other game, I think it is. Homer Bailey still in the major leagues. I just don't understand how it's possible. Von Nova, don't know how he's in the major leagues either. 2 deadbeats. Rolling out the deadbeats today.
2 deadbeats and the summer wind.
Oh, my God, those 2. Home Run Festival. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Be well, everybody. Have a great, great night. We don't have a damn thing for you tonight here other than ESPN programming, which in and of itself can be good, can be compelling. We got the Braves?
We may have Braves baseball.
No, I don't think the Braves.
You just listed every team under the sun in the major leagues.
But the Braves aren't playing tonight.
They aren't?
No.
Yeah, they are. I got them at 6:05. They're starting in mere moments.
I'm looking at it.
Did they get postponed? I should probably change the sourcing on the old.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking for that game. Did I announce a Braves starter?
I heard Fried. Is it Max Fried pitching?
You're right. I'm wrong. Steven Strasburg, Max Fried. All right, we got baseball. That's at 7:20. We got one hell of a pregame show.
6:05. That's why we're going longer. That's why I haven't said word one about you're late.
It's a pregame show for the ages. Enjoy the saga that is Braves pregame. Next.